I already mislaid it. Oh, here it is, I'm sorry. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Rich,
Here.
Commissioner Clark,
Here.
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Giobi,
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
And providing this evening's invocation is Pastor Darrell Orman from the First Baptist Church of Stuart. And after that, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Father, we just want to tell you we love you today, and we thank you so much for this commission. We ask you, please, Almighty God, to impart wisdom to them as they deliberate the business of the city. And we pray, Lord, that your Spirit would rest upon this chamber. And Father, we thank you that in Scripture you tell us that righteousness exalts a nation and sin is a reproach to any people. And Father, I just want to thank you so much for the way you move in the life of our nation, our country, our city, our county. And Father, I just want to ask you please right now to put a hedge of protection around President-elect Donald Trump. And thank you, Lord, for his courage and perseverance. We ask you please to impart wisdom to him as he directs us in the next 4 years. And we just want to tell you we love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Proclamations. Mr. Baggett. You read that for us, please?
Of course. So Apprenticeship Week, November 17th through the 23rd, 2024. Whereas National Apprenticeship Week is celebrating its 10th anniversary of raising awareness of the vital role registered apprenticeships provide in creating opportunities by allowing apprentices to earn while they learn and preparing a pathway to good, quality jobs and well-paying careers in Stuart and across the nation. Whereas registered apprenticeship programs enable employers to develop and train their future workforce while offering career seekers affordable paths to secure high-paying jobs. And whereas the City of Stuart recognizes that registered apprenticeship, a proven and industry-driven training model, is a key strategy to improving job quality and creating access to good-paying, family-sustaining jobs for all, starting with youth and young adults, while addressing some of our nation's pressing workforce challenges, such as rebuilding our country's infrastructure, addressing critical supply chain demands, supporting a clean energy workforce, modernizing our cybersecurity response, and responding to core economy issues. Now, therefore, I, Campbell Rich, the mayor of the City of Stuart, do hereby proclaim November 17th through the 23rd, 2024 as Apprenticeship Week.
And accepting this proclamation for Apprenticeship Navigator is Colleen Gill. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you so much, Commissioners, for recognizing National Apprenticeship Week. My name is Colleen Gill. I'm the Apprenticeship Navigator for Career Source Research Coast. We serve Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin counties. We're your local workforce development board. And we connect employers and job seekers. We provide job fairs, job listings, recruitment, on-the-job training grants, and a whole lot more for no charge. Registered apprenticeship is a training model where employees learn on the job while they complete related education. We actually can provide grant funding for registered apprenticeships to employers to help offset the cost. And this amounts to 50% of wages reimbursed for a portion of the apprenticeship. So this is a really great training model. Any businesses who have employees who are aging out of the business, getting ready to retire, they have job positions that are coming open that they need to train for, I encourage anyone to contact me for more information, and I can provide that to you. You can reach me at cgill@careersourcerc.com, or you can look on the Career Source Research Coast website, look under apprenticeship, and you'll find me that way. Thank you so much.
I was going to say, I recognize this guy.
Mr. Mayor, do you still have the program at the 10th Street Rec Center? Are you still, Career Source is not there anymore? No.
No, Career Source right now is located at Garden City in Fort Pierce, and we are getting ready to move into the Renaissance Center located at the old Orange Blossom Mall in Fort Pierce. But we serve the three-county area.
Okay.
We have representatives all up and down. You're welcome.
Turns out.
You'll make it official.
Like loses its orange.
And all for the photo bombers behind you, too.
It's or not,
Okay, okay, all right.
You got time.
Thank you, Mr. Chlorfane.
Mr. Baggett, Seroptimus, please.
Whereas for 70 years, Seroptimus International of Stuart has been a cornerstone of our community, fostering fellowship and friendship among its members as they work collaboratively to enhance the quality of life for all residents. And whereas Seroptimus International of Stuart has a rich history of commitment to our community, notably by establishing the House of Refuge, Historical Society, and Stuart Christmas Parade, and dutifully supporting these activities for more than 40 years, working with local sex trafficking and domestic violence organizations to get women the legal and economic resources they need to break free from their former lives, offering free mammograms to women in need, and hosting the Women of Distinction celebration event to honor local women leaders. And whereas Seroptimus International of Stuart has played a pivotal role in the advancement of higher education by awarding more than $500,000 million in college scholarships to deserving girls and women in Martin County, thereby opening doors of opportunity and fostering the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers, and empowering individuals through the gift of education and knowledge. And whereas, as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of this esteemed organization, we honor its extraordinary achievements and contributions. We extend our deepest gratitude to the members, past and present, of Seroptimus International of Stuart, whose unwavering commitment to service, education, and community engagement continues to uplift and inspire us all. Now, therefore, I, Campbell Rich, Mayor of the City of Stuart, do hereby congratulate and proclaim November 2024 as Seroptimus International of Stuart 70th anniversary.
And accepting this proclamation on behalf of the Seroptimus is the president of the Seroptimus, Ms. Mary Ann Searle. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's not a name a lot of people pronounce correctly first, so congratulations on that.
It's Dr. Searle. I think.
Well, that too. Commissioner Clark often refers to me as Dr. Searle. I don't usually use that title around here. Well, we are excited to be here today and grateful that you all are willing to honor us on our 70th birthday. As you just heard, we've been involved in a lot of different initiatives over the years, and we're proud of our history here for 70 years. We hope to have many more years here, and so you have several of our members here kind of showing support for the work that we're doing here in Martin County. But what I think is interesting about Seroptimus is the fact that we were started by a man. Although we're an international women's service organization. So in 1921, a gentleman in California said women can't be members of service organizations. So we need to create a service organization where women can be involved in community service. So it became known as Seroptimist, and every person I meet says, what does Seroptimist mean? And it actually translates to best for women. And I think that's kind of a great caption or slogan for us, because we are trying to do the best we can for women worldwide. So we're a little tiny club here, you know, with about 30 members, but internationally we have 120 countries. I think it's interesting that the fastest growing continent for Seroptimist is Africa. Who would imagine, right? And right now, worldwide, we have something like over 70,000 members. So we're an international group, and so we're just kind of a small piece in a very big puzzle. But what I found very compelling when I got involved a few years ago is our international organization set a goal, a vision, to help 500,000 women and girls go to college. or tech school in the next 10 years. So worldwide, we are committed to trying to help women and girls go to school beyond high school. And so we do our little part here. We are focused on barriers that impact women and girls who can't go to college. So we do education about poverty. As you heard, domestic violence, sex trafficking, these are barriers that our organization internationally has determined are major barriers for women to pursue education, to become economically empowered, to become self-sufficient and raise their families. So we do programs related to that with local partner organizations. We also are part of that 500,000 goal of helping women and girls go to school. So here we have 3 focused awards. The first one is called Live Your Dream, and this is targeted for single parent women. So of course, we're looking at women that might have extra challenges going to college or tech school or up an apprenticeship program, as we just heard, any kind of post-secondary education. We also have a program for women over 40 returning to school, usually after maybe a divorce or some kind of, difficult situation. And then we have an award that honors young women graduating from high school who have been involved in community service to try to encourage them to continue to be involved in community service. So we're always looking for awards applicants from our different groups. We raise money throughout the year to be able to do those. Our next big fundraiser is next Thursday night, where we do a holiday sip and shop. The other thing we're going to resurrect this year, we kind of didn't able to do it the last few years with COVID and whatnot, is a program our international organization has called Dream It, Be It, which is a program for middle school girls who might be girls at risk, who might be in poverty, to try to show them that they have a future beyond high school. So those are the kinds of things we're involved in, and we're excited to be part of the community here in Martin County. God bless you.
Thank you.
The photo op.
You want all of us up there? Or get one with you first?
Yeah, will they allow me?
Yeah.
Will you allow my members to come up too? Okay, awesome. Awesome. You can see our colors are blue.
Seat of the shortest person.
Mr. Baggett, Hospice and Palliative Care Month. Please.
Whereas Medicare's first proven coordinated care model, hospice, is a program that works offering person-centered compassionate care, ensuring dignity, choice, and quality of life. And whereas the hospice model involves an interdisciplinary, team-oriented approach to treatment, including expert medical care, quality symptom control, and comprehensive pain management as a foundation of care. Beyond providing physical treatment, hospice attends to the patient's emotional, spiritual, and family needs, and provides family services like respite care and grief counseling. And whereas hospice and palliative care organizations are advocates and educators about advanced care planning that help individuals make decisions about the care they want. Founded in 1982, Treasure Coast Hospice is a nonprofit community organization of skilled professionals and dedicated volunteers whose mission is to provide access to compassionate, caring, expert, and professional hospice and grief support services to patients and families at the end of life. And whereas today, Treasure Coast Hospice serves more than 4,000 patients annually, providing holistic patient-centered care and comfort to patients and families in Martin, St. Lucie, and Okeechobee counties. This year, Treasure Coast Hospice celebrated the 10th anniversary of its specialized pediatric care program, Little Treasures, which improves the quality of life of children and teens with a life-limiting illness by providing support for the entire family. Now therefore, I, Campbell Rich, Mayor of the City of Stuart, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as Hospice and Palliative Care Month.
And accepting this proclamation on behalf of, who are you on behalf of? Ms. Cooper. What? Treasure Coast Hospice, Shannon Cooper, is that correct?
It is correct, yeah. And that was a mouthful. I don't really have a whole bunch to say after that.
That's a good proclamation.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you all for recognizing Treasure Coast Hospice during this Hospice and Palliative Care Month. As Mr. Baggett said earlier, we do serve more than 4,000 patients every year in our community. We are the original nonprofit hospice that was actually created by volunteers in our community for our community. So we just celebrated 40 years. We are in Martin, St. Lucie, and Okeechobee counties. We serve more than 600 patients a day, and that's just through our hospice program, not for our palliative program. So we have far-reaching opportunities in our community to really care and serve our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the center.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Baggett, the last proclamation, please.
Epilepsy Awareness Month, November 2024, whereas epilepsy is a brain disorder characterized by recurrent and unprovoked seizures that can affect anyone at any age, any time. Epilepsy is a spectrum disease comprised of many diagnoses, experiences, and includes a wide range of seizure types, comorbidities, control, severity, and outcomes varying from person to person. And epilepsy is the fourth most common neurological disorder. Approximately 3.4 million people in the United States live with active epilepsy. People with epilepsy need access to affordable care, comprehensive, physician-directed, and person-centered health care. And whereas 426,000 Floridians live with epilepsy, including 88,000 children in Florida, and greater education and improved access to care is needed in schools, which can be accomplished by passing a seizure-safe schools legislation nationwide. And whereas Epilepsy Awareness Month is a nationwide effort in November of the Epilepsy Foundation and Epilepsy Alliance Florida to raise awareness about and changes the conversation around epilepsy, seizures, and side effects, as well as to improve and save lives through care, advocacy, research, and new therapies, and public health and education. Now, therefore, I, Campbell Rich, Mayor of the City of Stuart, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as Epilepsy Awareness Month.
And accepting this proclamation is the Community Resource Specialist, Maria Fernandez. Would you like to say a few words?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. I work with Epilepsy Alliance Florida. I used to be in pediatric neurology. I work with a lot of children affected by not only the diagnosis epilepsy, but also seizure disorder. This could affect anyone at any age, at any time. And we are a nonprofit, and we're here to help everyone in our community. It's great to work with the City of Stuart. I do train all the school members, teachers, nurses in your community, so they will be able to recognize when a child is having a seizure. Many times it's not very clear diagnosis. They have to go through many testing and a lot of different things to be able to know that the child or the adult, in many cases, as I said, it could happen at any time. I have a very close friend who's 70 years old, and right now she has just been diagnosed with epilepsy, and because it was left untreated for so long, it's affected her heart, and it's it's not giving her much more time to be able to do the things that she really should be able to do because it was left untreated. My goal is to be able to help everybody in our community, to be able to give them the care and treatment they need. If there's someone in the community that does not have insurance or is not able to get into a neurologist, that's where I play the role in your city to be able to help them get the proper care. We will pay for their diagnosis, their treatment plan. If they can't afford medication, we are here to help them. We are here to help all those affected because this does not only affect the person with a diagnosis, it affects us all as a whole. And we're all here to help one another. And that's why I thank you all today for allowing us to bring awareness into the community. And again, November is Epilepsy Awareness Month, and purple is our color. So if any of you want to wear purple, for epilepsy, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much again for the honor of being here and bringing awareness into the community.
Thank you. Hold on. They're centered.
Service awards. Wow. You don't see too many of these, do we? 35 years
Whoa.
in public work. William Recker.
Only got 50 more to go.
Apparently, he wants to say something. That's pre-internet.
Listen, I really like the way you guys opened the meeting today. I wanted to say that. And it's good to see the new faces up here. It's been a blessing working with the city for 35 years, and I'm on my way to retirement.
That's why he's happy.
I really don't want to talk on this. I'm kind of sick, but it's just a blessing being here, working here. I got the best boss in the world back here,
Milton.
and God bless you all. So.
Thank you. Get in the center.
After 35 years, he's doing whatever he wants.
That's perfect, man.
Take care. Congrats.
That's good. That's fantastic.
Well, I say we don't see that too often, but right behind him, 30 years. Utilities and Engineering, Jeremiah Walton.
Unfortunately, Jeremiah couldn't be with us, Mayor.
Mr. Walton's not here?
I'll clap for him.
He's working.
He got the night shift.
And never give up, Mr. Noon, but 5 years of service. You'll get there. And Utilities and Engineering, is he here this evening? Robert Noon, no?
Not outside.
No service awards. I mean, we did those, sorry. Sanitation fleet overview.
Good evening, Mayor Rich and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Ann Hawkins. I am in the Utilities and Engineering Department. And tonight, we're just going to do a quick overview of the sanitation fleet. You may have noticed on your way in, we do have a sanitation front loader parked in the parking lot. It is a 2023 model. It has the newest graphics that we transitioned to. So if you haven't had a chance, I do encourage you to take a peek at that. The sanitation team is a full-service team. They provide sanitation and recycling services to our residents. Currently, there are 15 members that serve on 3 teams broken down into residential service, commercial service, and our vegetation. In 2008, we began to put graphics on the side of our vehicles that emphasized Sammy Sailfish and the recycling efforts to turn garbage collection into a resource, and that resource was recycling. So the program graphics took a refresh, and in 2023, we came up with, and you'll remember this from a few months back, Don McIntosh's artwork was accepted and awarded to be the new graphics emphasis. So we're looking at a collaborative effort with Pitching In and Keeping Stuart Beautiful as a partnership with our collection teams and our residents, all contributing, and our visitors, to keep our city clean and beautiful. I wanted to show you not just the newest, shiniest vehicles, but what vehicles are in the field on an everyday basis, going through servicing the routes. So presently in service by vehicle type, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see this vehicle is this automatic side loader that is used in servicing our residential routes. The oldest vehicle is a 2016. It does have a twin, and both of those vehicles are scheduled to be replaced with this current budget year, 2025. And then the latest vehicle, the oldest vehicle, will then be a 2020. On the top right side of your screen, you'll notice a rear load vehicle. That is a 2009, and it is expected to be replaced any day now. We expect the new vehicle to be coming in probably sometime this month. That was budgeted in 2024. On the bottom left, you will see a roll-off truck. That was a repurposed cab back in 1986 that was refurbished and re-graphics, and it is currently in service along with a mate that is a 2019 model. And then in the bottom right side, these trucks probably maybe second highest, should we say, use and abuse as far as the materials that go into them and trying to keep them in good, pristine condition. These are grapple trucks, and they're used in service for the vegetation routes. So this is a 2016 model, and it is scheduled to be replaced in fiscal year 26 in that budget cycle. And the next oldest model would be a 23 that was put into service just a year ago. On this screen, I wanted to show you our front loaders. Our front loaders are used predominantly in our commercial service, and you'll notice from the side profile, the forks are in the front. So it's a look that you don't often get a chance to see, but the forks, when they're lifting up the containers are going to go overhead and get dumped into the top of the vehicle. As you can imagine, depending on where those containers are located, they can be restaurants, they can be full of rainwater, they can be full of torn bags. So the front of these vehicles do take a lot of, I don't want to say abuse, but I mean, they can become soiled pretty quickly in the normal service route of the everyday containers. So if you look on the bottom right-hand side, the oldest vehicle that we currently have in service right now, regular service, is a 29 model. And these require a little bit more refurbishing and upkeep just because of the nature of the service. So in fiscal year 24, we did have money in the budget, not just for regular maintenance and repair, but for refurbishment. So the tune of almost $200,000, we were able to refurbish 6 different models and older models That might include replacing the floors of these trucks. It might be addressing rust. It might be other repairs or refurbishment that gets into the mechanical side. But then we also have a systematic approach to replacing these vehicles based on age. So anywhere from 8 to 10 years, they are now scheduled for replacement just on age and mileage, but also we also look at criteria such as their general overall condition, their maintenance cost, and their operations cost. When we service using the side loaders, our residential curbside, we may have to employ a spare vehicle that might be older than the vehicles that I just showed you on a one-time basis that week while the regular truck is in for a routine maintenance or a repair. We do not ever skip service. If we have a once-a-week collection, we are going to be out that week collecting those carts, depending on if it's a solid waste day, a yard trash, if it's bulk or recycle. In the instance of a holiday, our drivers are off. They do follow a holiday schedule, as all employees do. However, the pickup schedule is delayed by the next day. For example, yesterday being Veterans Day, that service for solid waste would occur today. Today's normal schedule would occur tomorrow, and so on. So by the end of the week, all of our containers are picked up and our schedule has been met. We don't leave anything for the following week. When it comes to commercial sanitation, those schedules are based on an as-needed basis. Some are every day, some are twice a week, 3 times a week. We do have a couple of different kinds of containers. The front load trucks do service that top left model where the forks go in and dump. We also employ a side load option in the downtown area. On the side of this 8-yarder, there's a window. So the window is, the door is slid to the side, and then the bag's placed inside and the door closed. This particular style works very well in the downtown enclosures because the top model, the lids are not left open. There are no lids left open on the side option, so they're not visible to the public or as you're driving by or parking next to one of the dumpsters. The commercial recycling does use the carts, but if they do have a large generation of cardboard, then we do give them a dedicated dumpster just for cardboard. Otherwise, they do have a larger cart than our residential customers. Our residential customers are provided with a 65-gallon cart, and then commercial and event recycling incorporates the 95-gallon cart. We have other options for our residents besides collecting waste at their curbside. Off of Georgia Avenue, we have a self-service e-waste collection point that is open dawn to dusk, where our customers can drive up, unload e-waste, electronic waste that is appliances or electronic items that are either broken or reach the end of their useful life. By recycling these items, they do not go to the landfill. They are demanufactured into their components and possibly resold as copper or other things of value. So that is at no charge to our residents and businesses. And it is not manned, so it is on the honor system for our residents and businesses to bring the necessary muscle to load that into the container itself. Another opportunity that we provide our residents is through a neighborhood cleanup. And once a year, every residential neighborhood has a chance to put out at their curb additional garbage that we would pick up and not charge them for. That includes bulk items, that includes any sort of household garbage. And at the same time, we do partner with the Martin County Hazmobile. So the Hazmobile and a city vehicle would be parked in a central location for that residential neighborhood. And we invite our residents between the hours of 8 and 11 to bring their e-waste and their household hazardous waste, such as their paint cans, batteries, pesticides, cleaners, things like that. They don't have to drive out to the landfill to dispose of. The bottom left-hand corner is a model of our home composting program that went into play about 2.5 years ago now. So we do partner with IFAS, which is the Martin County Extension Office with the University of Florida. They provide a 1-hour how-to session, and in exchange for that, we will give our residential customers a backyard composter to be used as long as they would like to do so. In the middle slide is a replica of a sign that is posted for an area at least a block long where residents and businesses and community members can adopt a street. 4 times a year, they'll go out and clean up the swales and the sides of the roads. Keep Martin Beautiful will give them the supplies of gloves and bags, and the city will go through our streets and pick up that trash that's been collected and dispose of it. So it's a great way to be community-minded and to get more members of either your business or your neighborhood to participate in keeping your area beautiful. And then in our downtown area, we have garbage and recycling cans paired. We like to say no can stands alone. And we want the community to be mindful that we all do need to pitch in and keep our community clean. In the middle of the 2 cans, you will notice a rectangular cylinder shaped. That is for the collection of cigarette ash. We do partner with Citizens for H2O so that cigarette butts stay out of even the baffle boxes but our river, and we collect the cigarette ash. It gets shipped free of charge to TerraCycle, who for every pound that is recycled of this ash and waste contribute $1 to the Keep America Beautiful campaign. And then to the right, we also offer the pet receptacle stations, and we encourage, again, that all owners be responsible and clean up after their pets, especially in the downtown areas, nearby the river, hopefully all areas of the city, but we like to keep them handy, so you'll see those periodically placed throughout even our park system. And then lastly, we like to spread the goodwill about our city and the beautification with Sammy Sailfish. Sammy Sailfish was brought in 2008 with the recycling and the single-use conversion from bins to recycling for the city. So Sammy appears, he goes to schools, he goes to HOA associations, he participates in parades. Most recently, ownership of Sammy has transferred to the Parks and Recs Department under Community Services because he really is more known as a community mascot now. So he appears at all sorts of events. So you may see Sammy at just about anything, but Sammy is very well known, very well regarded, is huge in photo ops, especially at the parades.
I didn't see him at the Veterans Day Parade.
He was not at the Veterans Day Parade. So that's just our sanitation program in a nutshell. We do have a we are conscientious about replacement. We are conscientious about keeping our vehicles clean. The drivers take great pride in the vehicle that they are assigned to, the routes that they do. The vehicles, when they come out of service each day, are washed by the driver. And we are employing, the driver names were usually stenciled on the vehicles. So as the drivers go through these neighborhoods and are collecting, and even the businesses, they know their routes. They know the people on the routes. They know their neighborhoods. They are really, truly community partners, and they're very proud about the vehicles that they drive. So they take great pride in putting their names on the door. So as we get the newer vehicles in, we do have their names stenciled, so we're in the process of catching up with that and getting the right name on the right door, because it matters a great deal to them. And then lastly, I will just say, we did have a comment regarding the condition, of one of our vehicles. But without seeing it, I believe our vehicle was misidentified as belonging to the city of Stuart when it in fact was not one of our vehicles. But we welcome comments if it is one of our vehicles. I would say it's nice to have a new system in place called, it's an app called See, Click, Fix, where a customer or resident or visitor could actually take a picture and send it via this app that is on either an Apple or Google platform, and send it to the city. So we can see what they see, and we can be responsive to, yes, it is one of our vehicles, no, it isn't on one of our vehicles, but address a situation a lot more quickly and probably accurately with that system. So if there's any questions about what I presented today, I'll be happy to answer those. Otherwise, I have provided the sanitation manager's contact information in my own, if you have any follow-up.
The e-waste program.
Yes.
I know that like a week prior to them showing up, we'll put a sign, in the lot where it's going to be, right?
Correct.
And do we provide any additional notification in the water bill, or?
We
Because
don't
people complain to me often that they were not aware that it
that they
was-
don't aware.
Yeah.
Our best notification are the banners that go up at the entrance of the participating neighborhoods. We have the city's email, if they subscribe, that also indicates which neighborhoods are going to be participating. We also put it out on Stuart Life.
Okay.
I
mean, we do
believe
the
those
best.
are the
We
three.
do the best we can. It's,
Right.
it's a constant problem,
Misty
challenge.
and I are also working on with the email list, a program to where we can sort it by street name or
Right.
whatever, so in the future,
Yeah.
we can send a specific email out to each neighborhood that's participating as it's coming forward.
Okay.
Because, these are some of the most toxic materials any household possesses.
Yes.
So the more effective we are, we all benefit. How do we measure do we weigh all the material we get? I'm just wondering.
We do.
Are we doing better and better, or less and less, or?
So 2 different programs. The household hazardous waste is measured and weighed, and as well as the e-waste. We do measure that in terms of boxes of Gaylords. Every other month, I would say we have a pickup of about 16 Gaylords. A Gaylord would be equivalent to maybe a 6-yard dumpster full of e-waste that is being diverted from, so you can imagine 16 to 20 of those every other month. So our electronic system, the disposal, if we can keep even a portion of that out of our landfill, we're doing a good
Sure.
job.
Do we provide e-waste disposal for business, for commercial?
Yes, our businesses are welcome to participate with the drop-off program.
So they have to go to the neighborhood?
No, they would go to the e-waste container on
okay.
Georgia Avenue.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's at the Georgia Avenue site as well as the weekend neighborhood things,
Yes, Commissioner.
and plus the commercial with their e-waste.
Yes.
That's what adds up to those 6 loads.
The every other month e-waste pickup would just be what's coming out of the self-serve container
On
on
Georgia
Georgia
Avenue?
Avenue.
Wow.
We do have additional collection with the neighborhood cleanup that the men will come back and put in those Gaylords.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about neighborhood cleanup in terms of those Saturday mornings when various groups volunteer to do particular places, as well as the Adopt a Road cleanup too?
Yes, so the neighborhood cleanups, we sponsored that with, the city sponsors that. Our trucks go curbside to those neighborhoods and pick up. The Adopt a Street cleanups that we have participated with are individual groups that may join forces and do consecutive streets in a particular area. And those volunteers will come in, they'll pick up the area, bag it, and then bring it back to our dumpster wherever the home base is. Sometimes it's at the East Stuart Community Center. Other times, if it's just along a street, they will notify us and we will go along and pick up those bags because they don't want to, drag those big bagfuls back to a dumpster. So they will put them next to the street and our trucks will go by and pick those up and dispose of them. But there's plenty of opportunities for cleanups and adopt a street programs. If somebody is interested in actually adopting a street, they would contact the Keep Martin Beautiful, who administers the paperwork part of it for us. And then Milton's team does, once the street is adopted, he goes out and puts their name up on the sign. So he coordinates the sign postings for that.
Thank you. And are all the trucks, they are all covered with artwork now, or you still have some?
We currently have 6, so we just took delivery of the one truck, and that will be going for decals. The next decal up is of Confusion Corner and Captain Adams. So that will make the 7th truck. We expect the other truck to come in this later this month. That will be 8, and then 2 more this fiscal year will bring our total up to 10. Fiscal year 26 should be the last 2, but we usually have 12 regularly active trucks in play. So that will have all of them with the new graphics program. Then it would just be our spares that would have the old decals on them until they're no longer used as spares.
Thank you, Ann.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? The art was provided by whom?
Mr. Donald McIntosh?
Right, he provided,
Yes.
just to give him credit, he did a
Yes.
terrific job. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
I was just going to say, I think sanitation does a great job. Anytime I've ever had an issue, whether it's personal or with the business, anytime I've called, they've always come out and taken care of it. And I feel as if our vehicles are very clean as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments by city commissioners. Commissioner Reed, do you have any comments this evening?
Sure, I'll keep it simple. I did attend a Veterans Day parade. I was on East Ocean with my constituents. I did see you guys go by on the tram, though, while I was standing there. I also want to say, for anyone that's never gone to the air show on a Friday night, this is my 3rd year in a row. It was amazing. Whoever does the fireworks there, I'd be curious who does the fireworks in downtown, because it was awesome. I also want to say Jim, for anyone that was there that night, he really knows how to play some music. I know Ben was there. I saw Lee there. But yes, he really kept the party going during that. And that's all for now.
That's Jim Trolsky, our Community Affairs Director.
Yes.
Jim Trolsky. Commissioner Diogo?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. As you may or may not be aware, my daughter had emergency surgery several weeks ago, and I was in Connecticut during that time. First, I want to thank the staff for their concern and their assistance during my family emergency. I also want to thank all of those in Stuart and the surrounding area who reached out to me for prayers and speedy recovery for my daughter. I want to address all of the negative items that my missing one commission meeting due to a family emergency were said both on public social media and right here in the chambers. I want to address first the negative statements that have been stated in the Friends and Neighbors recent opinion piece. First, I want to say I agree with Mr. Campenny. One has the right to say whatever one wants about anyone, but that doesn't make it the right thing to do and the wisdom to know the difference. To date, I've ignored Mr. Campenny's opinions of me, since I would have to value his opinion, which I do not, for that means nothing or anything to me. But he recently skated the line, a fine line of libel and slander, and that I will not ignore. While I was away, I was signed onto one platform by the staff for initial ZIP meeting. Due to some technical difficulties, The staff asked me to switch to another platform, which I did, while staying on the initial platform in audio only. Due to technical difficulties that I had at my location, I thought it best to sign off the initial platform and remain on the secondary platform for the remainder of the zip, which I did. I would suggest that Mr. Campenni update his contacts at City Hall so in the future he can have access to the full story. I find it ironic that a past commissioner brought up making staff jump through hoops when he had to resign under issues involving a city employee, and a current commissioner who went into a rant and rage about a commissioner demoralizing an employee when that current commissioner was demoted for disparaging remarks about our men in blue. Word of caution to all of us. We all live in glass houses. Be not so quick to toss a stone. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark?
Okay, I didn't get to go to the Veterans Day, but I did go to the air show, and it was very good. Not just the idea of how the fireworks went, but they showed some images of Stuart during the time, and it really made you feel that community feel, that hometown feel. And I think that was a good thing to have, and I appreciate all the hard work. Ben Hogart, very good work with you and the committee and all those who participated. I know that the Seroptimus women also participated in the air show. Every year they do help with the community events, so it's a good thing. I wanted to, after I listened especially to the woman talk about the career resources, I'm not sure as to the links on our website, Mr. City Manager, and maybe if the county has such a thing, but if there's some way that we could look into doing more, I guess, a link to community services, maybe some of the things at the United where other people may have a quick link, like to Hope and to other things like that. We can't cover everybody, of course, but if there's something to send some people to some community services, I think that would be good. Because I listen with the apprenticeship program, I think that's a good thing. Christmas is coming up, and I know that usually we either plan too late or never do, or sometimes do the caroling with our staff, and I hope that we can show some interest in that. It really helps with our community spirit. And I know the parade, I think, is on the 6th or so of December, but when we have our event one evening, I hope that we'll go around and do the nursing homes and some other places, maybe the hospital, and if we could do that and really participate and use our staff to help bring some cheer, I think that would be good. Typically, I don't try to address it to be too combative, but I know that you just said something, and I'm sure that you were referring to myself. I think what I was referring to was the even of the 12th, when we actually, and everybody can see the report, and I just thought that maybe probably all of our decor, maybe I wouldn't say just one person, and that was about decorum and trying to make sure that we have good decorum at our meetings. And if there's any hurt feelings or anything, especially for Commissioner Collins, because I didn't refer to your name, but I know that, you know, if that's what you're referring to, I'd like to say that it's something that I still think that all of us still need to heed, and I would, that's it. I think that if that's what you're referring to, I think that was a reference, and it wasn't directly disparaging any particular person, but I know that I definitely know, and Mr. Collins just nodded his head because he had a lot of comments on that day, and I think that all of us felt like the discussion back and forth was something that probably could have been done in a different manner for that type of discussion. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Collins?
Yes. So I had the opportunity to be at the Martin County Board of County Commissioners meeting today, at least while they were talking about Brightline, because I was curious how that would go. And I was disappointed, but not surprised, that the Board of County Commissioners would rush the Brightline item through before our newly elected commissioners are seated on Tuesday. As Commissioner Hetherington also mentioned, she was unaware that it would even be on the agenda. She didn't find that out until Thursday. But nevertheless, our Martin County Board of County Commissioners voted 5-0 to completely change the 2018 settlement agreement, effectively letting Brightline off the hook for paying 50% of the cost of their station, and hamstringing our incoming commissioners in their ability to negotiate a better deal for taxpayers. So as it stands, taxpayers will be funding 100% of the cost of the Brightline station, split up between the county paying up to 15 million, and the rest coming from taxpayers at large through grants. But the bright side of this is if you are a city resident, this commission saved, worked hard, argued, broke much decorum, but saved you $30 million that can be reinvested back into our community. And if you are very much pro-Brightline and a Brightline station, it appears that whatever the name of it, Martin County or Stuart, you will be looking at a downtown Brightline station. So with that, I'm very much happy to see that we'll have that $30 million to invest into our community instead of going into Brightline's pockets. So with that, those are my comments.
Thank you. We've had in the meetings recently, I've heard quite a few comments from our residents about this, that commissioners are getting up and down and leaving the meeting and taking Mr. Baggett out of the meeting. And they've made some, I feel, are unwarranted aspersions about the behavior and that conduct, especially with regard to what role Mr. Baggett may be playing. And I know that not to be the case at all. So the simple solution to that is, if a commissioner feels the need to leave the meeting when people are speaking, some people take offense that when they're up making a presentation, a commissioner leaves, they take it as an affront, which it's not up to us to say whether that's warranted or not. But if you feel the need, simply ask for my attention and we will adjourn the meeting for that time, so that all the residents and all those in attendance and all the applicants will have the attention of all the commissioners, which is only fair. And to be honest, I don't really understand why you have to take Mr. Baggett out of the meeting. We're here to speak to the public. I don't know what question you would be asking him that you couldn't ask in front of the public. But nonetheless, if you feel the need to do that, we certainly, we will adjourn. Now, to accommodate this, if you want to, and I'm asking this question, do you want to take a recess every 2.5 hours, or do you think that would help?
Or we could go faster.
I mean, if you're asking me for input, I think this is a bit ridiculous. If one of us wants to grab our city attorney and ask him a question, I don't think it should be a big deal to take him aside. It happens at the county, it happens, school board. This is not a big deal. And I don't want to be too hard on you, but it's, to me, a little bit totalitarian. We should be able to do that and not
It's a
be
what?
Totalitarian from you, that you would stop the meeting anytime we need to have an aside.
No, it's accommodating your
If one of us needs
needs.
to use the restroom or something, it shouldn't be this big of a deal.
Well, it's not a
We'd
big
have to
deal.
break the
It's-
meeting every time.
It's not a big deal to adjourn the meeting temporarily for a few minutes.
Sure.
Do you have any feelings on that?
As mayor, you have the right, I guess, to do that, but
I would like to ask the attorney a question. I don't have to leave the room. Is it against or out of order with Robert's rules for a commissioner to ask the attorney to step into another room for a question?
I can review Robert's Rules of Orders, but I don't think that's even in there. But it would be more in our rules of decorum that have been adopted by prior commissions.
which it's not.
So, and it's not really addressed in there, so.
It's your idea.
Well, it's because of the people I speak to have brought it up and said they don't quite understand what's going on there. And, you know, they certainly feel that Mr. Baggett should be present to hear all matters under discussion by the public. And that, because who knows, you know, when he's out, who knows what is said? It may be very relevant to his area or not. We don't know, but that's why. Would you like to take breaks more regularly on a periodic basis in order to?
I just feel we're all adults and having to ask to go to the ladies' room or the
It's
men's
not
room.
that, it's just that. I mean, some of these meetings have gone 6 and 7 hours now.
And
That's
and
what
when
I'm
those
saying.
meetings have gone that long, there usually is a break so that we
Yeah.
can go to the restroom. But
Okay.
having to ask for permission to go to the restroom.
No, you're not asking, you're just asking for an adjournment, a temporary adjournment. Okay, we'll see how it goes. That's my only comment. Comments by city manager, Mr. Mortel.
Very briefly, let me just pull up my notes. I actually wanted to comment first that we have a zoning in progress workshop scheduled for next Thursday at 9 a.m., November 22nd, which we'll be going over Chapter 3, which is the urban codes. I want to mention that Friday, November 15th is the Treasure Coast League of Cities Elected Officials Workshop at the Indian River State College campus. And I don't know if anybody's going, but I've heard it's pretty good. And lastly, I was going to comment on the sanitation overview and wanted to thank you, Ann, for doing the presentation. And it arose from the joint meeting in which a lady in Schooner Oaks had seen trucks she described as the City of Stuart trucks in Schooner Oaks and said that they needed maintenance and didn't look that great. And she wanted us to update them so that they could reflect the quality of waste management trucks. And it was clearly not the city trucks because we've never been in Schooner Oaks. But it was also south of Port Salerno, so it would be outside of our jurisdiction. But on top of that, after that meeting, I wanted to clarify with her, but then it occurred to us that we actually take a lot of pride in our trucks because they're actually beautiful and they hold it to a higher standard. And so I'm happy you were able to do the presentation and put the truck out here for all us to see. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I address the city manager?
You certainly may.
Okay, I just want to let you know, Mike, that I will be attending that conference on Friday.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Mike, did you say the 22nd for the zoning in progress?
That was the 19th.
19th. Sorry, I just
19th. Tuesday
just
the
want to make
19th.
sure.
The
Looking out
19th.
for you.
Yep. Thank you. I had the wrong
Are
date.
we all agreed?
And I think several of us have signed up for the IRSC thing.
We have a motion for approval of the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Clark and a second by Commissioner Collins. Any public comment regarding that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any comments from the public on non-agenda items? Madam Clerk, do we have any green cards?
I do. Max Stuckey.
Is this a non-agenda item?
Normally during D&D, we don't do public.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, and staff, I'm speaking as a member of the community right now. I know there's an agenda item later, but that's sort of my topic. But I've lived in Stuart since 1956, and I've been trying for over 10 years to get what's on the agenda as number 15. But I'm speaking from my heart here. I know there's people objecting to my idea for a full-time environmental attorney to work on saving and restoring the St. Lucie River. And basically, they were saying it won't work. Well, unfortunately, you don't even know what it could be until we have someone working full-time to find the best way to succeed at cleaning up the river. I have 100% proof of what will not work, and that is everything we've done for the last 90 years. The river is just as poison and dirty as it always been and getting worse every time, and LOSUM will not change that. If you're taking advice from those who say we cannot succeed, what else can they say? They have failed. The people of Stuart cannot afford to fail. and we have to devote a full-time effort to restore Stuart's greatest asset, which has become its greatest health hazard and a threat to property values. Just for this commission coming out and saying, we're going to fix this no matter what it takes, will stimulate the local economy. I know many people over the last several years who have left Stuart because they've given up on the river. We cannot ever give up, and this is a very small investment for a huge return. This will not cost money. This will return huge profits in property values, tourism, and quality of life. We're not going to do this. The best thing we could do is warn people not to come to Stuart. I already told my own children not to come back here because I was afraid of the river. If we do this and we succeed, maybe some of my grandchildren can come back if we do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Without a,
I wanted to introduce Mr. Parsons, who was sent to me by an environmental professor at Florida State. I wanted to tell you that the type of attorney I am looking for really does exist, and he'll be our first applicant. Bobby Parsons.
I wanted to introduce myself formally, Bobby Parsons, and welcome any kind of communications you guys, or any questions you guys might have regarding what I envision this position to be. I did come into contact with Mac through our university. I had reached out to one of my former professors looking for this type of job, and honestly, this would be a dream position for somebody like me, and I do look forward to applying to it once you guys make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, if there's no objection, we don't normally during a D&D allow public comment, but I don't see any problem with allowing that this evening, do you, when we get to that item? Okay, so if you want to speak regarding the position of environmental attorney, we'll hold your public comment until we get to that, item 15. Thank you. Mary, any other?
Helen McBride.
Helen McBride from Flamingo Avenue. As I've said many times, I've been coming to these meetings over 40 some odd years. And the first one was over the firehouse out front. But it was always a very friendly, cordial meetings. And what is going on now is wrong. And at the last meeting, the gentleman that got up at the end of the meeting and ramping, in my opinion, ramping and raging and carrying on and saying, get rid of the three elected officials by the people, for the people. And I had dear friends that have lost elections and run for elections, but whoever, even in this last presidential election, when the people speak, we all back the candidate. And what it was really hurtful, when I came to the meeting and saw a commissioner's chair emptied, I made inquiries. And I found out she had the most, to me as a mother, horrible phone call in her life when she got a phone call that her child needed emergency surgery. And any mother and any father would immediately drop whatever they were doing and fly to wherever they had to fly to be with their child. And for many years now, and you always let us know if you knew ahead, like when you were going to Germany to visit that brave son who was fighting for our country. One commissioner, it was his 25th wedding anniversary, so they were going, and don't blame him. If I was his wife, he'd better take it off. But we have, my opinion is when, and I don't know, Mr. Baggett, I don't want to take your job, but wouldn't it be best if when the city clerk did the roll call and she named each commissioner, and when she came to Commissioner Jones, she could say absent with, excuse absent, or some formal. You don't have to give the life history of that. But let's bring it back instead of, this is Stuart. We all speak, we all go to the, well, maybe, we all visit each other's churches, we do things together. There's a great organization right here. I was with the hospice when they first started, those 6 women who started hospice, I volunteered. This is Stuart. We're friendly. And I know from experience, there's a lot of people trying to tell you what to do and how to do it, but don't listen to them. Listen to, well, no, you should listen to them, but listen to everyone and do what you think is best. And as far as, you know, the freedom of the press, I've been going, my back has got more knives in it than anybody, I think, in Stuart. But you just got to toughen up and do what's best for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McBride.
Thank you, Helen.
Marie Kennedy.
I'm Marie Kennedy, Seroptimist. I think Dr. Searle and the proclamation said it all very, very well. I just want to mention that by supporting Seroptimist of Stuart and our mission to help women and girls overcome obstacles to education, you are doing something that will enhance your community. As people have said, it often takes a village to accomplish very important things. We all have to work together. And we are here as women and any men that want to join us, because we can't discriminate, you know. And we would love to have your perspective. But we want you to know that we are here to serve the women and girls of our community and of Martin County as well. We partner with other Seroptimist clubs, Port St. Lucie, Palm Beach. There are 10 Seroptimist clubs in the state of Florida alone. And we do want to achieve that goal of helping 500,000 women and girls by 2031 overcome those obstacles. We are part of something much bigger. So don't think of us as just a little piece of this. We are part of something very, very large and one of the oldest women's organizations in the world. Thank you.
Robert Hamilton.
Good evening. Robert Hamilton, the 1895 Church of Stuart, 3rd Street. You guys know why I'm here, the CDBG program again. And a lien was put on our home. I know you're aware of that. And why was this lien put on the home? The lien was put on the home because of Mr. Martell's continual deliberate indifference against us. He abused his power. He could have made things right. He did not. Is there an issue?
How are we doing?
Technical one, I guess.
Not that we're aware of. I'm sorry, Mr. Hamilton.
It's okay.
But please don't refer to any individual up here by name. You just address
What are we
all.
doing here? My home.
We're listening to your concerns,
Sir,
Mr. Hamilton.
My home. I want
really?
you to take it seriously, because he didn't. That's why I'm here. Exploited us for what? Points, merit for our community? And then, oh, we're going to get rid of the CDBG program because it wasn't done properly by the people entrusted to do it? And then you put other people at risk that have jobs in the city. You know, he tells me one thing. It's a two-tell deal. I get one thing said to me, another thing said to outside agencies. So how am I, even when it's in writing, you know, I guess it's coming to the point where he stood here in front of all of you and said, we are not responsible for anything. We just hand the money. Well, that turned out not to be true. Now, the state of Florida is looking over our church. Now, again, the lien has to be lifted. No time were we allowed to sit down and have a discussion with anybody here. So to me, there is backroom dealing going on. I'm not privileged, my wife, to sit in there when he's doing his two-tail deal. But be that as it may, I guess what's it going to come down to? A writ of mandamus? A Manila claim? You know what I'm talking about. An 83 action? It's taken a year of our life by the time this is done. And for what? Due to mismanagement of the CDBG program. Instead of saying, hey, you know what? We made a mistake here. Let's sit down and let's work this out. I'm real serious about that. I've been in here for months with my wife. Months. Supplied every bit of information that could be supplied for the city to turn around and do their job and say, man, if we miss this, we got to fix it. Why didn't he just fix it? Why this again and again? The torture is what you do. You're playing with our lives. We lost merit. You know that. The city's lost merit. Now they're going to start losing points. I'd like something done about it. Have a meeting. Do something. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Olga Hamilton.
Good afternoon. Olga Hamilton, 311 Southwest 3rd Street. Sorry. Stuart. So, you already went, probably you received already letter from Mr. Mortel regarding our lead. Right after that letter, Office Inspector General of Florida Commerce called us to clarify this letter. So, now, after all this mismanagement of the program, denying us re-inspections, denying, for whatever reason, covering up for Patriot Response Group, now, Patriot Response Group file it with Martin County fraudulent lien. The lien is fraudulent and I have all the evidence. Appropriate agency already have them as well. All dates wrong. I have emails, when they were fired, when they last work performed, and how much of work they did. But what happens now? The city has to pay that lien, fraudulent lien, off from non-federal funds. It means that money does not come from our grant. Whatever city funds, but the Stuart taxpayers and residents, they have a right to know what fund the city will use to pay that fraudulent lien off, almost 50,000, and how the city is going to recover it. While all other agencies do also their investigations, and Historic Preservation Office right now doing evaluation. I received a letter from the Florida Government Notary Section as well. They do their investigation on certain documents notarized and submitted and filed by Patriot Response Group as well. We complained. We put the city on notice since July 16, the City of Stuart CDBG project management. We have two managers, one on the city behalf, executive director of the Community Redevelopment Agency, another company hired by the City Guardian Community Resource Management. Both of them ignored us when we complained. Talking about community resource management, they completely ignored our complaints. We already complained in June that we are afraid these people from Patriot Response Group, their abuse, their disrespect. So, you have remedy with Guardian Community Resource Management too. It's in your contract. They are responsible to the City of Stuart for any damages caused on the project as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hamilton.
Gail Goldie.
Guess I'll be on now.
Gail Goldie, Stuart resident. First, I'd like to say that I'd like to address the elephant that's been in this room for many, many months, and that elephant is the Bright Line. And I also attended today's meeting at the County Commission, and I have to say that I would like to thank the commissioners who rescinded the past agreement. Many of the residents here aren't aware probably of the cost that would have cost each resident. You have been double taxed had that gone through. We should all be thanking these commissioners for their astute paying attention and responsibility of saving us money. Many of us are on fixed incomes, have been residents here for many years, and it's very, very important that taxes are not increased. The amount of money that we were going to have to pay we will have to pay as county residents, but the city residents are very fortunate now that they won't be double taxed. They will only have to pay taxes on the county portion of that. So again, I want to thank the commissioners for paying attention and listening to their constituents. The tax saving was a bold move, and the city residents will not be victims of double taxation again, I said. So that's all I want to say, but I do also want to acknowledge that I have been coming to the meetings, and I am hoping that the atmosphere in this chamber improves. I hope that, we're not being so petty that we have to have the commissioners asking for permission to talk to the city manager during a meeting or the city attorney. Oftentimes something comes up, and we should be thankful that these commissioners want to ask a question, and possibly that question is something that they need to get clarification on before they speak about it. So I don't think we need to be asking for permission, raising our hands to go to the restroom, to get a drink of water or whatever. So thank you so much, and I look forward to the next meeting.
Thank you. Frank McChrystal.
I, too, would like to thank the commission for saving us a boatload of money that we can use somewhere else. I also watched the county meeting today, and I think we need to look downrange and understand that transit-oriented development is the end goal of the globalist scumbags, Brightline being a part of them. On another tangent, everyone up there needs to really research Brightline and their parent company. And if you go deep enough, it's ugly. The communities they have put the hose to before us. The county today proved that it's not you guys that are at the little kids' table, but they are, okay? And so again, look downrange and see what we can do to tie up if the county does end up doing this in that piece of land that they own, how do we tie up everything around it, especially the ball fields, anything green? Maybe, I don't know, you can definitely do something for zoning, but the ball fields and the parks, maybe some sort of referendum to get anything changed there, a real vote of the people. So let's look downrange and make sure we're ready for what's coming at us. Anyone notice what happened last Tuesday? It's called national populism. Populist nationalists have swept the nation, okay? And all politics is local. And unfortunately, the globalist scumbags have chosen Martin County as their home base. They ran out of land down south where they ruined it, and they can't build their golf courses out west because there's not enough water anymore. So they've got big plans for the city of Stuart and Martin County. And thank you for being the true leaders of Martin County and the big kids at the table. Thank you.
I have no more comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor.
Which by the way, just to point out, it includes both the minutes of our last meeting and the ZIP workshop minutes. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Giobe.
Can I just?
Would you like
ask-
to pull an item from that consent?
Well, I just wanted to ask a question about it.
Sure.
that's all. Okay. This would be number 12, the Motorola lease. That's part of that consent calendar, right?
Would you
My
like to
question-
pull that item and then we can discuss it?
I didn't know the
That's normally
procedure.
how
Oh,
it
okay.
proceeds,
Then yes,
okay?
can I
So-
ask to please make a motion to move that item, and we can
Okay.
discuss it later? Thank you.
Commissioner Clark, do you have a motion?
Okay, move approval of the consent agenda, pulling item number 12.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Clark and a second by Commissioner Collins for approval of the consent calendar, removing item 12. Any public comment? Seeing none, any comments? All in favor?
No, I have
Or
to.
roll call?
Commissioner Giobe?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item 12. Mr. Baggett, will you read item 12 for our consideration, please?
Sure. Resolution number 118-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the execution of an equipment lease purchase agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. for a 10-year period term with cellular costs for 65 N70S public safety handheld police radios, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Do we have a motion for approval of item 12?
Were there any specific questions you had?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I had a question regarding 12.
Okay.
Okay, so the only thing, and I did do some research, it's a 10-year contract, and technology changes so quickly. I'm wondering, was there anything in that contract if the Motorola radios that are given to our police, if there's something that,
They'll be replaced during the contract. They
Okay,
won't-
so that
it's
was
not-
what- I
they're-
couldn't find
It's like
that.
it's like two-year radios. They'll be
Okay.
replaced every 2 years.
all right, that was my concern, technology changes so quickly.
So
I didn't want that to be
basically,
with
what it is
obsolete
that we need to update the radios to keep up with the sheriff's office that's grading theirs, and by going to this lease, every time the sheriff's office upgrades theirs, we'll be able to trade out and use what the sheriff's uses to remain consistent.
Thank you, I
Yeah.
couldn't find that in the contract, thank you.
It's also my understanding, and I know the chief's not here, I don't know if Captain Z knows, but they also have service available for their handheld radios through the county, if I'm correct on that. I don't.
It's for coordination.
Yes, there's some service through the county, and Motorola also provides some service contract for the life of the radio, or at least during that 10-year period. So we have a good system worked out with the county and Motorola, so they keep us up and running.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
if there are no other questions with regard to resolution number 118-2024, move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Clark and a second by Commissioner Collins for approval of Resolution 118-2024. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, any comments or questions by commissioners regarding this item?
No.
Seeing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes?
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Giobe?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Okay, commission action. Mr. Baggett, will you read item 13 for our consideration, please?
Sure. Resolution number 117-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, repealing resolution number 132-2020 and deauthorizing property assessed clean energy, also known as PACE programs within the corporate limits of the City of Stuart, terminating agreements with the Florida Green Finance Authority, the Florida Resiliency and Energy District, the Florida PACE Funding Agency, and the Green Corridor PACE District pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 2024-273 Florida statutes, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Do we have a motion for approval, or do you want to have a presentation there?
Good-
Mr. Hogarth?
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Ben Hogarth for the record. Just wanted to, I know it was a rather lengthy staff summary in the agenda. Just wanted to reiterate what had kind of led to this moment for staff to make this recommendation. The city manager a few weeks back had asked staff just to reassess kind of the PACE program in our support of it. The 4 agreements that we had in place since 2020, What I did was I ended up meeting with both Mr. Mortel and then later on with our building official to kind of discuss some of the terms that are in those agreements, some of the challenges that we might face and may have faced in the last few years. I can't speak of any specific instance that we're aware of where, similar to in other parts of the state, we've heard some pretty rough stories that occurred between especially 2010 and 2020 that had led to a series of litigations in different communities. More or less, property owners feeling like they had been somewhat deceived, had been confused, didn't know the full weight of what they were signing when they signed up for these property assessed clean energy program lendings, essentially what it is. So with that said, the state of Florida, this legislative session this year in 2024, made a reform bill, and it was rather lengthy, rather extensive. A lot of really good consumer right protections were put into this bill. I think pretty much every community in the state was very supportive. Florida League of Cities is very supportive of those reforms. However, with that said, when I spoke to our building official, there's still a couple of concerns that kind of remain. One is feasibility for something like the city of Stuart. We're such a small community. I don't want to say we're short-staffed. We just don't have enough staff on hand to really help look at these projects individually, have someone out there with PACE program administrators, with actual contractors, reviewing contractor licenses on site, making sure that if a window was supposed to be placed in a certain window frame, it's the right size, it fits the contract. That's a lot of work, and it also has a cost, a real operational cost that right now it just seems infeasible at least to have somebody out there for every project to do that. My understanding, according to an email that Mr. Baggett received from one of the administrator groups, is that there have been, I believe, 26, give or take, projects in the city since the inception of PACE that we're aware of.
When was the inception?
2010, I believe, is one of the first. It wasn't a PACE legislation. It was legislation that essentially led to PACE, but it created the program in statute. So our agreement, that, to my knowledge, I don't know if there was any in place before 2020. So the 26 projects may or may not have originated from 2020 on to today, so in the last 4 years. So the staff's recommendation after kind of assessing this is that, to the city's satisfaction, we can't guarantee that PACE program administrators will follow even the new reforms, the new consumer rights. We can't guarantee that the contractor on site is properly licensed, that hasn't been virtually approved somewhere without someone really, seeing everything in person. So there's still some concerns that remain. This isn't to say that we have specific evidence or proof that in our community something horrible has happened, that we might have residents that are angry or upset at us for being a part of the program. That's not what the recommendation was. The recommendation was saying that we feel the reforms at this moment don't really, for a small community like us, it would be very difficult to confirm whether or not a contract or whether or not a project had gone through 100% as the law provides. And with that stated, if a resident, just like in other communities, this has already occurred, if a resident experiences an economic shortfall where they're going to lose their home, a lot of times they're going into their local commissioners, they're going to their local communities, and they're blaming people in front of them for the situation. So with that stated, it was a rather lengthy staff summary. I just kind of want to restate why staff took this position, and certainly request the commission to provide that feedback and that guidance.
Thank you, Mr. Hogarth. Any questions of Mr. Hogarth?
Yes,
From the
thanks.
commission? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I've
Commissioner
had
Collins?
personal experience with this, with people talking to me, and I wanted to talk to you and Mr. Baggett to see if someone who was in the city of Stuart, which is Martin County, and Martin County administers that program frequently, and I think that this particular person had gotten help through the county. So even though we deauthorize Mr. Baggett, people in the city can still apply to the county, and we just won't be responsible or have anything to do with it as we do now.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the program that thoroughly, and I've not looked at the contracts for that issue. So I don't know the answer right now.
It's my understanding that the authorization or deauthorization or whatever it is a matter of the local agency allowing the tax collector to add it to the tax rolls. So if in fact Martin County has authorized the tax collector to accept these loans in Martin County and add them to the tax rolls, unless the city of Stuart took an action to pass an ordinance that prohibited it from being added to the tax rolls, I would believe, as Commissioner Clark's pointing out, that it would in fact still fall within the jurisdiction of Martin County and they could do whatever they want.
Yeah. But thank you, and I mean, I know the statute is there, but
But
I,
the other side of it is if we deauthorize it,
We're
and the
not
problem
pushing
does
it.
arise, if somebody
Yeah.
comes to us, we can say we're not involved.
yeah, yeah.
And for clarification, the need to authorize or deauthorize had not existed in law until that reform bill from this year, because there is ongoing litigation with that as the legal question. Still, many communities saying prior to this year that there was still a requirement, it just was an implicit requirement. A Leon County judge, I believe in the last year or two, had found against that position. So a lot of communities are still kind of in this litigious place, but as a result of the 2024 reform bill, that's now in law, it's now statute, and from that point on, there has to be either this authorization or deauthorization.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, and also as some type of further distinction, the type of home improvement that the CDBG does is not the PACE program is pushed as a energy type thing for the most part, and people believe, well, if all their holes are patched up and the energy is going to be more efficient and that kind of thing, that everything is quote unquote, I wouldn't say free, but they think that it's free. I think they go up to like 20,000 or something like that. They have a limit. But and they think that it's free, but they know that they do tell them that it's going to be paid for, and it's going to be paid for. I don't know if they think it's going to come out of their property taxes, which is actually what they pay. It's kind of like this whole idea with tariffs or no tariffs, but they're actually paying the property taxes. And the thing about it, and I know that I've talked to the tax collector, is that when the property taxes come at a whop of $6,000 or $8,000, and they hadn't been paying it quarterly, these people are going crazy, because usually they're people who own their own homes and they didn't really have a large property tax in the first place, and now they're paying for this loan.
That's a good point, Commissioner. I think just again for the public certification, some of what was happening was that this lending was being sold as kind of, hey, you don't have to pay anything up front that comes out of your taxes. People might have had, typical, or were used to maybe a $1,500 or $2,000 annual tax bill. Suddenly, once PACE kicked into their next annual tax roll, they were at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 tax bill they weren't expecting or anticipating. And that was causing people to have liens placed on their homes. With that said, my understanding is in the recent few years, one of the mitigating solutions in the interim has been to, in those liens, have these stipulation agreements where they're effectively, in lieu of having a bank loan, are paying a monthly towards that PACE.
Yeah.
Okay, can we get a motion for this?
Yes. As with what's agenda item 118?
It's item number 13.
117, 2024 resolution regarding the repealing and deauthorizing the PACE program. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Clark and a second by Commissioner Reed. Is there any public comment on this item?
I do have public comment.
Okay.
Jennifer Rojo Cerez.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members. My name is Jennifer Rojo Suarez. I am with Renew Financial, one of the PACE providers operating in the city of Stuart, in the state of Florida, through the Florida Green Finance Authority, FGFA. Thank you for hearing my comments here, and thank you to the gentleman for some of his comments regarding the new law that did pass. It sounds to me, from what we've reviewed from the resolution and the comments today, it sounds to me like there's some misunderstanding on what the obligation is of the city. But it also sounds to me from the comments today that there's some concerns or of understanding in terms of if the city could operate, if the constituents in the city could operate, if you were deauthorized and the county does have an interlocal agreement currently. What I'm asking for, and my colleagues and the industry really, if we could defer the item to have further conversation and discussion regarding all these comments so that we could get clarification before you all take this big vote that would deauthorize this program and really leave a lot of constituents that have used the program and others that would want to use the program won't be able to use it. The 26 projects that you mentioned are from Renew Financial. That's just a loan from our PACE, from our provider. There's other companies that may have more PACE assessments out there, but as not only that, with the new statute, currently with the PACE program, you could use it for not only resiliency, but also for storm hardening. And so, for example, from the 26 projects that we currently have here in the city, more than half of those have been used for storm hardening. And that means roofing, shutters, and things like that. So you can't use PACE to get a new kitchen. These are dedicated, this is a dedicated program for these types of improvements. So now with the new law that just passed, it has also expanded to also allow for septic to sewer conversion, which is another big issue, I believe, not only in the city, but in the state. So again, it sounds like there's a lot of more discussion that we hope we can have instead of just deauthorizing the program. We hope we can defer the item, and we ask for it to be deferred so we could have further communication and discussion on the item before it's terminated. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Mark Scheffel.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. Mark Scheffel with Y Green Energy Fund, 6303 Blue Lagoon Drive in Miami. Thank you for your time this evening. I hear him as well to address item 13 and your proposed deauthorization of the PACE program. Y Green Energy has operated in Florida since the enabling legislation was passed in Florida, which was 2010. We've done over 85,000 projects throughout the state, totaling improvement investment of over $2 billion. Actually, didn't get a chance to meet with your staff, which I'd be happy to do. We actually show over 100 projects having funded in your community, totaling close to $3 million, vast majority of which are in the area of hurricane hardening, roof tie-downs, high-impact doors and windows, high-impact roofs. I, too, would encourage caution. PACE is a very, very specialized product for a very specialized group. It's niche financing that comes in as a middle ground between complete unsecured at very, very high interest rates and very favorable terms. It's not for everybody. And it's specifically designed by the legislature when it was first enacted to target specific improvements. It's not a broad financing tool. People aren't buying, ski boats with this or swimming pools. It's a very, very specialized product. It's been pointed out since its inception in 2010. 2024 was seminal legislation that really took a deep dive. It's a extremely dense statute running 39 pages long, which is full of specific items to address the needs of PACE that have accumulated over the years, chief among which is consumer protection. I know there is a reference, and I know part of the confusion here was concerning a reference to the requirement of cities and counties to engage in contractor registration. I can assure you, as one of the folks, and it was a broad stakeholder group that assembled in Tallahassee to work on this, Florida Association of Counties, cities, all of the industry participated, folks that were in favor of PACE, folks that were against PACE. We all came together to try to improve this program. The specific item that calls for contractor registration has a very important coordinating conjunction in there, and or. It says that you are obligated to prepare a registration program, or you can work with providers and administrators. Again, why Green Energy? We operate under the Green Corridor. We've worked with other counties on this very issue. We have a pro forma contractor registration that we're happy to work with you. I know my time is short. I would encourage you to just take a step back and workshop this. Industry is here. All of the companies that work in this area are here and would love to work with you to get the right answer and build the best possible program for the city of Stuart. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Luis Royez.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Louis Royer, 18471 Southwest 123rd Place, Pembroke Pines, Florida. I'm here on behalf of Home Run Financing and Fortify. There are two additional PACE providers. It's clear after reading the resolution that there is some misunderstanding with regards to the city's obligations versus the county's obligations with regards to the PACE program. And I too would like to request a deferment so that we, the city and the industry, could get together and clarify any confusion or any issues that might occur or might have been brought up by staff during their review of the PACE program. That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
James Christie.
Mr. Christie, good evening.
Good evening. I wasn't going to speak on this issue, but I do want to from hearing this. I'm at 373 Southwest Eastport Circle in Port St. Lucie, but I do have a house in Stuart. It's on Nassau. On that street, I have someone that lives right close to me that used to have a tax bill of about $115 a year. Now they have a tax bill of $2,600 that they won't be able to pay. That when we talk, they cry and get upset. Never be able to pay that bill. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a result of this program. When you do a thing like that, I'm not saying it's a bad program, but when you attach it to someone's taxes, if they don't pay it, if I'm not mistaken, they lose their house. If they have trouble paying it, if I'm not mistaken, it's very depressing. Some people have paid for their homes and own their homes, like someone brought up today, and they're just not used to it. And they probably be better off paying a company a bill rather than have a $2,000 to $3,000 tax bill that they'll never be able to pay. So if those workshops are held, I would like you guys to include some individuals who are actually got those PACE loans and get their feedback too.
Thank you.
I have no further comment.
Well, do we have any comments or questions by commissioners regarding this item?
I made a motion to
Yes, we have
deauthorize
a
the
motion and a
program.
second. I'm just
And
seeing-
I don't know if the board wants to discuss it and maybe listen and see if we need to have a workshop or if we need to go forward.
Commissioner Reed?
Let me know and I'll.
So, from my understanding with PACE, you're getting a loan and it's going on your tax bill. So if you had a regular loan, home line of credit, equity, pulled it out that way, you just have a lien against your property and you wouldn't potentially lose your house then unless you changed ownership and then that lien holder would be satisfied. And I'm assuming with PACE, it's a little...
If you went out and got a second mortgage on your house right now to get a new roof, the bank would amortize that loan over however many months you got that mortgage for, and you would receive a monthly bill. Under the PACE loan, as Mr. Christie was pointing out, if there's somebody that doesn't have a mortgage and whose house was at a value that was so low that it's homesteaded for so long that it only had a couple $100 a year in taxes, what happens to that person is come November, they get their tax bill and it's $150. They scrape together the $150 and they pay it, and another year goes by. But in the situation of the person he's describing, November shows up and they get a tax bill for $2,600. They can't scrape it together, so they don't pay it. But there's no reminder that's sent. There's no follow-up that's sent. There's no credit person calling on the phone saying you need to make payments. There's no foreclosure. Nothing happens. 3 years pass. They don't pay the taxes for 3 years. It automatically, the tax liens have already been sold every year. One of those liens exercises the right to seek a tax sale, and if the owner of the property doesn't have the amount that the liens each sold for, so now 2.5,
Plus
2.5,
interest.
2.5 plus interest, you're looking at probably 9 or 10 grand, they lose the house. Now, for what it's worth, if a person got a conventional loan and didn't pay for 3 years, it's very likely that they would have already been foreclosed on, because a conventional loan wouldn't let them get 90 days overdue without filing a foreclosure. The question is, historically, and I know that there's legislative changes and stuff, but historically the descriptions were that the people selling the PACE loan said, just sign right here. You don't have to pay anything. It's just going to come out of your taxes. And like the people's perception is that it's the government taxes, not my money, that I'm not going to have to pay it. It's just going to be this, I'm getting effectively a grant, and they don't have to pay anything, and then they're surprised by it. It sounds like that issue's been cleared up. I'll also tell you, there's lots of situations where the PACE loans have been very helpful to someone. Someone needs a new roof, and for whatever reason, they had a car problem or a medical problem. They don't have stellar credit, but they own their house. They sign up for the PACE agreement. They get the $30,000 new roof loan. It goes on their tax bill, but because they already have a mortgage, the bank escrows that the following year into 12 equal monthly payments, and their mortgage payment just gets adjusted, and they make those payments. They got their roof fixed, they make the payments, everything goes smoothly, it gets paid off in full, and they got relief that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten because they wouldn't have qualified for that loan in a conventional marketplace, and they needed the roof. So I'm sure for every example of one that broke bad, there's probably 100 that went well. The real question is, the expectations of the people that go out and get the money and get the benefits and get everything from it, and then want to turn around and blame the city if it doesn't go well. Is it worth the aggravation of it?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Question for the
Sure,
city manager.
certainly.
So it's my understanding, according to Commissioner Clark, that city residents would be able, if they wanted to. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my understanding, according to Commissioner Clark, that city residents would be able to utilize this program as Martin County residents.
I mean, it seemed in theory, as a Martin County resident, unless the city excluded that, unless we passed an ordinance saying we wouldn't allow that, but we're not, that's not what's before you.
No, I know. Okay.
Yeah, if the city opts out, then the Martin County agreement that we have is only for unincorporated Martin County. So that's the only area that would be able to use it at this point. If you opt out of the program, then nobody from the city of Stuart can use the program.
Can I ask a
And
question?
that could be the case.
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes, then, can I ask a question? You would change your program to then involve the people that are in the incorporated portion of Stuart?
I don't believe it's up to us. I believe it's because of the charter, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of how, if you involve there's some areas or counties that would include unincorporated and incorporated, but I believe the way that Martin County is, you can't do that. But if we could, absolutely, I mean, that would be, but I don't know. That's why I'm saying, I think the discussion needs to be had. I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing, and then, the city of Stuart just doesn't have that option anymore by opting out.
Thank you.
Is there, Ben or Mr. Baggett, is there any deadline to comply with this statute if we want to change anything, or if we decided to wait and maybe do this?
Commissioner, it was my understanding, based on the legislation, that there's this requirement for the local agency to basically re-up any existing agreements with a reauthorization. I don't know if there's a date certain. I'll have to go back into the legislation if there's a date certain where if nothing is reauthorized, it's like effectively deauthorized until that happens. So new projects, new programs. So a lot of the four PACE administrator agencies are kind of requesting every local agency with existing agreements to sign those reauthorizations right now. So every day that we haven't signed, my understanding is that it's not authorized, even though we have existing agreements. We have to, comply with that. I do want to reiterate, because of some of the discussion happening here, I don't think there is a misunderstanding of staff on what the legislation states. We understand that the state legislature has put the onus on the four PACE administrators to handle contractor compliance, to manage these projects, to follow the new consumer right protection laws. We understand that. There's a whole thing about trust and verify. And when it's all in the hands of PACE administrator agencies, there is no verification on our part that there's contractor compliance. This isn't to say that PACE administrator agencies are acting out of turn or acting illegally or immorally or whatever. It's just we don't have the means to verify, and that was still, as we speak, that is still our concern with staff. Not to say that it will break anything, but that was our position when we assessed this.
Any
If I
other?
may add to that.
Mr. Baggett?
I don't know, and I'm just throwing this out, but it seems to be from the staff that it's a staffing issue. Martin County obviously has a much bigger staff. Since I'm aware, I used to work there. I don't know if we can work out some sort of interlocal agreement for them to manage it, and you're shaking your head, no. but-
It's a tax collector issue. It's, the county and the city don't manage it. The question is where the blame comes. Is the commission, when one of these people loses their house, and they come in and blame the city commission for setting them up, is what happens.
I also like to say, under the Robert's Rules of Order, if you
That's
wanted,
exactly what's happened.
if you wanted to do a motion to postpone to a date certain, someone would have to bring a motion, it had to be seconded and discussed.
Okay, I think
What's the pleasure of the board? There's
the
a motion and a
commissioners are
second.
aware.
But if there's a
I
motion,
can
you can do a
withdraw
second
it
or...
if you want me to.
I would like to comment. So
Okay.
this came up, I sit on a board of 70 other elected officials, and this came up last year. This is the most reviled program I have ever heard a description of. We are so lucky that our residents did not suffer the abuse that happened all over the state. The chair finally said, okay, after 2.5 hours of horror stories of people, it's just, this program in this form is not working. That is clearly the case. And for the exact reasons you just described, Mr. Hogarth, is we get the blame, but we don't have the ability to control it, to verify it. It's the worst of both worlds, as far as I'm concerned. This was 70 other elected officials. It was unanimous. They said, we don't want anything to do with this program in this form. It's just, I think we just need to wipe the slate clean here, and if we want to find a means of accomplishing what this, I'm sure the goals were noble initially, but the execution has been terrible. It's like the CDBG, again, here. We're authorizing it, but not controlling it, but we get the blame, and that's not a good way for the city to proceed. So I have no interest in postponing this. I would hope we could vote on this, and if we want in the future, find a way to implement this with greater control and greater oversight, because we all are well aware of the downside when we fall short in that area.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
This is going to be backhanded. One of the best reasons for this program, and I heard this from a tax collector, and because it is a sure way for the financing agency to get their money. So as Mr. Mortel was saying, that if there was a mortgage and somebody couldn't pay for the month or something happened, there's going to be misses there. This is a sure way, because people pay their taxes, and hopefully people are going to pay their taxes to keep their homes. But it just so happens that some of the people who use this program are ones who really need help, and they don't have the money, and then when they have this extra $2,000 to $4,000 a year that comes up right with their tax bill, which has a window to be paid. And so I was told by a tax collector, that this is, and maybe the statute needs to be looked into the way these financing agencies work, but that is a sure way for them to get their money and to collect their money through the tax collector's office.
And people are misled, you know, that's the problem. We have, consumers are preyed upon.
And to clarify, as far as the authorization, deauthorization, there is nothing that limits us in the future of reauthorizing
Right.
at any
Yes.
point.
Yes.
So.
So I'd like to go ahead with my motion, clerk.
And we had a second by,
Commissioner Reed.
okay. Any other comments? Are we ready to vote? Call the roll, please. We have a motion, okay.
The
Maybe we
motion
should
was
read
to
the
approve
motion.
resolution
okay.
number 117.
If you like, we can, Mr. Baggett, would you reread the motion?
Simply to approve the
All right.
resolution.
So it was motion to approve resolution number 117-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, repealing resolution number 132-2020 and deauthorizing property assessed clean energy, also known as PACE programs, within the corporate limits of the City of Stuart, terminating agreements with the Florida Green Finance Authority, the Florida Resiliency and Energy District, the Florida PACE Funding Agency, and the Green Corridor PACE District, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 2024-273 Florida statutes, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. Roll
Thank you.
call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes. Motion is unanimous. So we're going to have the second reading. This is quasi-judicial. Yellow card, please. Item number 14. Mr. Baggett, will you please read it for our consideration?
Ordinance number 2532-2024, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, amending the city's official zoning map to rezone a 2.4-acre parcel located at 710 Southeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, being more described in Exhibit A attached for a major amendment to the existing commercial plan unit development, also known as CPUD, zoning designation to allow a vocational training facility only, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Oh, sorry.
Do any of the commissioners, have any ex parte communications to disclose in connection with this item?
I do. I spoke with Mr. Zacchio and Chris Kruger I've spoke with as well when I've ran into them.
Okay. Commissioner Giobi?
No.
I speak with Mr. Zacchio, but on other, I see him in town. I haven't talked to anybody about this item much since this last came up for the first reading, and I'm here with an open mind.
Commissioner Collins?
I have none.
I've spoken with Mr. Zacchio numerous times regarding this item, and I've also spoken with Jimmy Smith regarding this item 2 or 3 times. So, and I've spoken with the city attorney regarding this item as well. Mr. Baggett, could you put any witnesses under oath, please?
Sure. Will all potential witnesses for the applicant and city staff please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in? Do you affirm that the testimony that you are about to provide in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
Will the Development Department please provide a brief summary of the agenda item, including the location, size of the property, current zoning, zoning requested, and list the applicant's request to deviate from the land use development regulations?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Chris McCrane, Principal Planner with the Development Department. And tonight I'll be presenting agenda item number 14 for a major amendment to the Commercial Plan Unit Development zoning designation, which would allow for a vocational training facility within the CPUD. This is the second and final adoption hearing for ordinance number 2532-2024. Pursuant to Land Development Code public notice requirements, on September 12th, 2024, the applicant mailed notice to all adjacent property owners located within 300 feet of the subject parcel, which provided details of the requested development and the date and time of tonight's public hearing. Additionally, the three public notice signs were posted on the property with the same information. So for context, the 2.4 acre parcel is located at 710 Southeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It is bounded by Southeast Tarpon Avenue to the east, Southeast Lake Street to the south, and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to the north. The site is located within the East Stuart neighborhood and the CRA, or Community Redevelopment Area. The subject parcel is currently zoned Commercial Plan Unit Development. The properties to the north, south, and west are zoned General Residential Office. The properties to the south are, some of the properties to the south are also zoned Single Family Duplex, and the properties to the east are designated by the Business Mixed Use zoning designation. The subject parcel and all the surrounding properties are designated by the East Stuart Future Land Use, which applies to areas within the CRA and is specific to the East Stuart neighborhood. Permitted uses include commercial, office, recreation, mixed use, low density, and multifamily residential projects. So Project Lift was presented to the boards back in August. It made it through the city CRB and the LPA with recommendations for approval. At that time, it was a straight zoning petition to the Business Mixed Use Zoning District. Once we got to the commission, it was requested that we bring back the application as a zoning to the CPUD, which is the existing zoning designation. So we brought back the item to the CRB on October 1st, 2024. We brought it to the City Commission for the first reading on October 14th, 2024. And we just had the LPA meeting on November 7th, 2024. So we are here today. Staff has reviewed the petition, the major amendment to the PUD, in accordance with the City of Stuart's Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan. And the staff is recommending that the City Commission grant approval of ordinance number 2534-2024 and allow for vocational training facilities as a permitted use within the CPUD. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant and staff are available to answer any questions.
Okay, is the applicant, do they wish to present their request to the City Commission? Is that you, Panal?
Yes.
With Project Live.
Okay.
We don't have any changes since it was last presented, except we rezoned it to CPUD, consistent with what the board wanted. We do have the site plan if the board would like to see the site plan or any renderings of the buildings. We're still proposing a 12,500 square foot building for a vocational training school, which will include entrepreneurship training and incubators, should the need be in the community. Bob Zacchio is also here. You've heard his presentations numerous times and what he has to offer. We are partnering with Project Lift to provide this service at the new facility. And we already have a memorandum of understanding with Project Lift. When this project gets approved, we'll work on a lease agreement with Bob Zacchio to provide the service in the new facility.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions for staff, Panal or Mr. Zacchio?
Mayor Rich, I do.
Commissioner Reed?
This was sent out to everybody in the entire East Stuart community, I believe, right, for letters? Okay, and then with the LPA, were there any concerns raised on the 7th at the LPA board meeting at all?
They asked about doing some weekend classes in the new facility, maybe looking at doing adult programs. Those were some of the comments. We did recommend that we'll coordinate with Jim Charlesky, because Recreation Center is now available since we don't have the aftercare program to provide some sort of adult classes. And I know Jim has already reached out to Mr. Christie to find out what he's interested in, what kind of classes we should do for adults.
Okay, so there was discussion, I guess, for weekend classes. What was Project Lift's stance on that for weekend classes? When it was brought up?
We don't have the ability.
Excuse me, I'm not feeling so good today, so
You're
I'm doing the best I can to.
You have
to
COVID,
manage.
Mr. Zacchio.
What's that?
You have COVID?
No, I think a little bit of allergies. Yeah, I'm like, here you go. Now vote on it, right? No, it's, we've had some discussions, but I can tell you, when you put weekend components in place, it can be challenging. There's a whole lot of other issues that can be raised that are related to that. I'm open to the discussion about how that could look and what we could do to help facilitate some of those things. But in terms of staffing, it's related to Project Lift, is that now you're talking about budgetary components that would be outside of the scope of what of where we're at and what our mission and vision is always going to be. Now, I also remember that the best times to serve adults is in that morning time. When you take a look at that 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., we are serving up to 25 years old. That's in our mission and vision and our scope of services. But we are again open to additional conversations related to how that could look.
I didn't even look at that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had plans on the weekends currently.
No, I mean, like I said, running a company, once you get to that 40-hour area, and we hit 40 hours with our staff right around Thursday at 6:30 p.m. to be precise. Yeah.
Okay. And then you and Mr. Christie were able to work things out?
Mr. Christie and I have had some good conversations, and, but, I don't think it's about Project Lift. Yeah, you have to speak on his behalf. I don't, from the conversations that we have, and he would be more than happy to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, is that we've had some good conversations. He came down, he and his wife did a tour of Project Lift. I think that's very affirmative, that I don't think he has an issue with us, but he can speak to that. I think he has an issue that's totally separate, that I think that needs to be separate. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be it.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Commissioner Reed, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do any, Commissioner Giobi?
I have no question.
I just wanted to thank Pinal for putting up with me. Thank you.
Oh, and her amazingly hard, the amazing amount of work that she's put into this and her entire team.
Does the
You
okay.
guys should be very proud of that team and the staff.
Thank
that
you,
have.
Mr. Zacchio. Yeah. Does the petitioner wish to offer any additional information before concluding his presentation? No, Pinal says no.
Just go. No, he's sick. Yeah.
Okay, the presentation of evidence has ended and the hearing is closed. Does any member of the public wish to make a comment?
I
Madam
do
Clerk?
have a public comment.
Who?
James Christie.
Okay. Feel better, Mr. Zacchio. Welcome again, Mr. Christie.
Hey, it's nice to be here again, because I've been here a lot. I've been to about 8 meetings concerning this issue. And every meeting pulled the tape. I am opposed to this project going to the Willie Gary property at 710 Southeast MLK. And you can pull the tape again. I never said that was against the program. Program good, I told, but I kind of resent the fact that my name is being dropped regarding approval of the project when I'm not in favor of this project going at this site. Let me make that clear. Let me make it clear also that there were others in the community that came forth, not just me, mostly me in my big mouth, but it was other people came forth and said the same thing. There's a few issues, and the city commission, the local planning agency, the CRB board and CRA board, y'all gotta be good with a few things. First, you gotta be good about how this was done, how it was initiated. I put in a public information request asking for details about that because that's important. You do things like that to make sure things are fair. You give opportunity to other people, and you can't say, oh, this is my friend, come on. You want to put a building on Southeast 710 Martin Luther King Boulevard, we'll get you in. You make sure you do things properly so that doesn't happen. Also, this project was pushed to the public. My community that I'm representing Ain't a total representative of it. People have other opinions, that's fine. But it was pushed as going to be a business incubator, business incubator, business incubator. It's going to solve economic injustice, economic injustice, economic injustice. To the newspaper, within the city documents, I got it. It was put in the comprehensive plan, the Bible, and it go from that to, we're gonna do a vocational tag. It's gonna be exclusive to only 16 to 26-year-olds. I wouldn't even, my negotiators that I talked with Bob about and other people, they were not in good faith because no one ever told me that on that property you cannot have anybody else on there if you have that particular population. I learned about that the other day. I asked questions of Bob. I sent questions to the city. By the way, I got to pay $7,000 to get all the information I want. But the end, this is injustice for the community. It's not going to solve our problem of economic inclusion, economic stimulation. It's not going to do that. It's going to make it worse. That property is historic. We want to see a business incubator on there and not a quasi after the fact, we're going to do what we want to do, and then we'll think about doing something for East.
Thank you, Mr. Christie.
Thank you.
And members of the board, if I can just provide a little background on Mr. Christie's comments, he is accurate that originally when David Dias first started pursuing the program, a relationship was developed between the city and Indian River State College that they did in fact start to pursue a business incubator program, and there was going to be adult training. It was going to be through the college, and the county at the almost identical time announced that they were doing the REACH program at the airport, which is a business incubator through the Indian River State College program. And as a result, Indian River State College ultimately said they didn't want to do the program in East Stuart, and we had already applied for the grant under the program that Mr. Christie was describing. However, we had multiple meetings after that to try and find a suitable concept to provide benefit to the community. And when we were matched with Project Lift, it really seemed like the most appropriate fit. And the theory behind it was that, if we can reach the kids in that neighborhood between the ages of 18 and 25 and train them, that at the end of 10 years, there won't be anybody in that neighborhood that isn't trained, and they'll all have jobs, and everybody will be that wants to be. And all of a sudden, it will provide that economic prosperity, and with people working in fields and being trained with experience, that they will actually have the ability to have some money in their pocket and maybe create their own businesses or effectively incubate new commerce. Now, in Mr. Christie's defense, I agree that it isn't the job incubator that started out, but that was not a decision that the city of Stuart voted to cancel and go a different way. It was literally taken away, and it wasn't available anymore, and the city still wanted to do something in the neighborhood and do something, and we amended the grant, and the commission obviously voted on it on multiple occasions to make the changes and to pursue it, and it's actually a very successful program right now so far, and the relationships are good, and it will in fact provide significant benefit to the community.
Do we have any other public comments, Madam Clerk?
I do not.
Does the applicant wish to make closing remarks? No.
No.
Okay.
Not at
The
this
city
time.
of Stuart.
Mr.
I haven't closed public comment. Would you like to make? If you could tell us who you are, ma'am?
Ladies and gentlemen, Helen McBride from Flamingo Avenue. Now, I was sitting there listening to Mike. I've been here, saying that, when it was Indian River Community College and that. So, I'm a little knowledgeable, not as much as you all sitting up there. But sitting here and I'm thinking, it's not just for the East Stewart young people. It's for all of the young people in the city of Stewart. And Mr. Christie lives in Port St. Lucie. If those kids wanted, young men, I shouldn't call them kids, young men. So when we all see, and I know where I live, I go up and down 10th Street. Well, 5 days a week, I'm up and down 10th Street, maybe 3 or 4 times, if not more. There are young men, and you see them out there, they're by with their trucks, or they'll stop at the door to cut down trees and not trying to earn extra money. And I know some of them personally because they went to J.D. Parker with my children and Stewart Middle School and Martin County High School. So if we could give even them or their children a hand up, I think that's what this really boils down to. We're giving the youth, the young people, a hand up. Now, if this building goes up, is that the only thing it can be used for, say, in 20 years, or can it be changed?
Well, the PUD that the commission is passing is restricting the use of the property to this use. The building itself can be retrofitted for lots of other uses, but it would require a new public hearing to come before the city to authorize that use.
You still have that little door open that you can.
But it can be used for other purposes. If it trains everybody and you don't need the use anymore at all, then you could do something else with it.
I think the grant requires 5 years.
Right.
Well, yeah, well, 5 years go by very fast, let me tell you.
I mean, we own it.
The city will own.
Yeah, we own it. The
I
city
know.
owns it.
So that's how I feel as a person that I love kids, and I've watched these kids since kindergarten grow up and that, and now I'm watching their grandchildren. I think it's for our future, especially for people like me who are trying to find a screen guy to do a screening and that. It's hard to find just little someone who's willing to work to do little things, repairs like a refrigerator, air conditioning. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
You need to fill out a green card, Ms. McBride. Mr. Hamilton.
Quick comment. You mentioned you brought up the CDBG again. If you had read, sir, the paperwork and the contract, you keep making the same echoing
Are you
statement.
referring to this item we're considering right now?
And you brought up something with the CDBG, and you didn't read the contract because you made an erroneous statement.
But that was on the last item.
Well, you shouldn't have brought it up on this one then.
I'm sorry for the. Okay. No other public comments, Madam Clerk? May we have a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Okay, I'll just make a motion so that we, I can
have
ask my
discussion.
question. Okay.
Correct.
With regard to ordinance number 2532-2024, move approval for the land use, for the zoning change to commercial planned unit development to allow for vocational training facility only.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Clark and a second by Commissioner Collins regarding, it says here we have to, I think that your description was sufficient to satisfy the need to clarify the motion. So is there discussion by the commissioners regarding this item?
Yes.
Mayor Rich.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Clark, as the motion maker, you may go.
Okay, all right, thanks. I probably have like 2 or 3 things. I don't think that Mr. Mortel knows the answer to this, but with regard to Mr. Christie's comments and other people who talk about economic development and the type of training program, maybe Mr. Zacchio. I was going to say Dr. Zacchio. Mr. Zacchio, the VICA program at the high school, I don't know if they still have that, but that provides evening program for people who are used to with electrical and other things. And I think also the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club is going to be doing something with people, I think, up to age 25 with some of these other skill areas too. So there's some things there that will interface. That's one thing, the VICA program. The second thing, Mr. Mortel mentioned about the reach at the airport. And I'm asking about the innovation hub that we set out as a land use along with the county in the Commerce Boulevard area to have some kind of a joint innovation hub and to do some things and to work with the businesses in there as well as even the Business Development Board when they bring in new businesses into Martin County. I want Mr. Mortel, if he has any information about that, to just kind of explain how that also could interface as a tool that maybe people need to learn more about to get those resources to, probably through the Business Development Board or through the chamber or the county, as to how that whole innovation hub area can be used as a benefit for both the city and the county. And my third thing is with regard to economic development in our comprehensive plan. I think somebody mentioned the comprehensive plan. And if there's a major concern as to wanting to do something to actually stir specific economic development, especially in the East Stewart area, maybe that's something that staff and the community, along with any funds that could be available from the CRA, that we could actually work on doing something. I think one of our members has said that they've talked to staff a lot and come to us, but I don't know if any plan has been provided to say, here's a plan that some other community has done, and maybe we could try to implement that type of economic development program. And if we do have that, the funding, or if Pinal has an idea that maybe another year something can be provided that says this is how it will work, whether it's some kind of a loan pool, something with the banks in the area so people can get funds for redevelopment. There's a whole bunch of Florida statutes that talks about community loan pooling and things like that. But if we need to do that, maybe that's something that we need to work with and set that up as a project to work as an economic development tool inside the East Stewart area. So, Mr. Mortel, the Innovation Hub, do you have any information on that?
It's really not related to this subject matter.
Right,
topic
yeah,
at all.
but they mentioned having this,
The Innovation Hub. is
the
an area-
incubators and that kind of thing,
The
yeah.
Innovation Hub isn't an incubator.
Right.
It's an innovation hub that the county and the Business Development Board identified a corridor
Mm-hmm.
where they wanted to make it kind of its own zoning, where different businesses and commercial activities were taking place in a described as a mixed-use type development where people could live and work in a community that is all new businesses that they're attracting to the area in that corridor from what's basically the fairgrounds, the flea market, and then all the way down through the industrial parks or commerce area. But I don't think that there was any specific
Do you wish to make it
job
part of this motion?
No,
Commissioner?
no, I just wanted that information to be out there, that
Yeah.
people knew about that information.
Okay.
And then with regard to comprehensive planning, that's something that can come up in the future, and I think that we really need to look at if there's something that needs to happen. And I'll meet with Mr. Christie and see if there's something that we can plan to do so that Pinal can look at some future projects to help with some specific economic development. But no, my motion stands as to 2532,
Thank you, Commissioner
2024.
Clark. Commissioner Reed, any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to state, obviously I've spoke with Mr. Zacchio and I've expressed my concerns and I've let him know that I've never been in 100% support of the program. I would have much rather have seen IRSC there to bring trades because it was a broader age that they would serve. And Mr. Zacchio and I, we have spoke, and I believe he was limited by his grants and his funding for what he can serve. And as a new elected official walking into this in August, most of this stuff was already done in the works, and a potential no vote would mean us, the city, I would imagine, selling the property or repaying back a CDBG grant to the tune of $5 million, was it total?
4.7.
It's actually almost 6
A little
total.
more?
Yeah.
So that would be us repaying it back, and I respect you, Mr. Christie, for you coming in here with your comments, but potentially selling the property, another applicant could purchase it, and they could come in for something else that might not benefit the community at all. Who knows what would come there that would come before the board. But yes, IRSC would have 100% support, I would imagine, from my fellow board members if they were still involved. And I think the community would fully support it much more than Project Lift. Project Lift, you know, is a small niche, basically, for what they're serving. And I've expressed it to Mr. Zacchio. I respect what you're doing for the community and the small part that you are doing. And that's really all I had to say, just to let you know, Mr. Christie, what a no vote would mean for me walking into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Giobi? Commissioner Collins? I appreciate Mr. Christie's concerns. And this doesn't preclude, to address comments by Commissioner Clark, this doesn't preclude us from continuing to push to provide those opportunities for business incubation. I would urge anyone to go to one of his graduations, and I just attended one. I mean, I just missed one. I'm sorry, I went to the one last. And I was so delighted. I mean, these kids, these young kids, and their families are there. And their families are well aware of how you help them turn their lives around. And they did create jobs. They were saying, oh, I've started my own HVAC business. I've started my own beauty parlor. I mean, these are businesses. Perhaps they're not what you have in mind, but they are businesses, and it is a terrific opportunity. Mr. Zacchio, Project Lift will now be a member of the East Stuart community. I think he shares all our hopes and ambitions as regards to what we can accomplish there, and I look forward to his assistance there. The CRA has a lot of money. We have a lot of money coming in the CRA. So, Mr. Christie, if you have ideas, we're more than happy to hear from them. IRSC, unfortunately, we can't compel them to do anything. I know Mr. Hawkins, who sits on the LPA, is working hard on trying to create opportunities in high tech. So this doesn't close the door. This is really opening the door for so many opportunities, and I hope we're able to take advantage of them. Are there any other comments? Nope, seeing none. Will you take the roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we take a 10-minute break, maybe?
Excuse me?
Can we take a break? So I got to go to the bathroom.
Sure, certainly. Absolutely. I violated my own. Let's take a 15-minute break. We'll 6:45, Madam Clerk.
I think we should all write down In the spirit of Commissioner Giovanni's comments, I think we should start with that. I'm just kidding.
That wasn't so painful, was it? To take a break?
I know, I feel like I'm 12 day after
No, some very untoward comments were made about Mr. Baggett.
Hmm?
No, they said he was acting as an intermediary. That's not good.
For what? Well, you didn't tell us.
Commissioner goes out, and then
You didn't tell us anything.
And that the perspective is a conspiracy.
Yes,
Yeah.
the perspective is it's a conspiracy.
He's relaying.
You certainly didn't tell me anything. You have to talk to me more often, Mr.
Right.
Baggett.
The irony is if you stay in the room,
We're reconvening our meeting. Thank you. Wasn't so bad, was it? We're on the D&D, item 15. I don't think you need to read this, Mr. Baggett. Do we have any comments from any of the commissioners regarding this item? Should we start with public comment, or why don't we?
You want me to
Can we have
summarize
staff
what?
to review?
'Cause I drafted the.
Okay, go ahead,
Okay,
Mr.
sure.
Baggett.
I put together the agenda item and one of the attachments to the agenda item. So if you recall, at the regular city commission meeting held on October 14th, city commissioners received a presentation from a local attorney, Max Stuckey, on the hiring of an additional lawyer to be an environmental lawyer specialist, and also to amend our city charter to add that particular attorney as a city officer or charter officer. City Commission had some discussion about it, and we were told basically to hold off on the amendment to the city charter, but let's move forward with the process of hiring an environmental lawyer. In addition, we had started by drafting the proposed job duties and or job description of the job duties and responsibilities of said environmental lawyer. Mr. Stuckey, in his presentation on October 14th, he had some proposed powers and job duties in his presentation, and I did attach that, and it is labeled Proposed Powers and Job Duties by Max Stuckey. After getting instruction from the board, I went ahead and drafted a job description for environmental attorney, and I've also attached that to the agenda item. That one is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. I had also sent it and forwarded it to our human resources director. She went through it, and from her end, she thought it was good, and she can speak for herself on that if you have any questions for her. Obviously, I wasn't here when you hired me, so I don't know the process you went through. I did speak to Ms. Johnson, our HR director, about that process. She could, I guess there are some commissioners that were not here when I got hired, so they might learn something about that process. She's here. She could enlighten us with that. As far as the job description, the one I drafted it's more of a final form that we could actually use. I think Mr. Stuckey just had some proposed language to be included in a job description. But there's also some other legal issues that we got to deal with Americans with Disability Act and stuff like that, which that's covered in the job description that I had drafted. I took some of his language. I made some amendments to several paragraphs to what he had, and I added a bunch of new paragraphs also in the examples of essential function. I don't know if you want me to, I doubt you want me to read through it all. I hope you had a chance to review it before tonight.
I thought you did a good job.
All right.
Commissioner Collins?
So, again, I thought you did a really good job, Lee.
Thank you.
In capturing this. In talking to city manager actually today, kind of brainstorming with him, he had a really good idea that I wanted to pitch you all on. And, we had discussed kind of immediately going to a charter amendment, referendum to have this be a third charter position, and then sort of, okay, maybe let's do full-time hire, and then we can do referendum later. And Mike had brought up the charter says you have to have at least one city attorney, but it doesn't say you can't have two. So basically, instantly, we could, without having to go to referendum, have a second city attorney, but whose job would be the environmental attorney that would be functioning as the Environmental Protection Department. So I saw that actually as a brilliant idea. And if, in the future, we want to get that buttoned up and go to referendum and have that be a separate chartered position beyond this chartered position, we could. But at least right away, you would have an environmental attorney, within an environmental protection department that is working directly for commissioners. It's a chartered position. It's not a full-time hire, that Mike is hiring. We would be able to interview and hire that person right off the bat without having to go to referendum, which I thought was really cool. But within that,
Remember, referendum, the problem with referendum
yes,
is that you can never get rid of them. So it's almost impossible to get rid. So if you're successful, you're like, oh, well, we don't need you anymore. Tough. So that's the problem with charter. So
Okay.
I'm glad you appreciate.
Second
perhaps
staff
a-
member if possible.
Yeah, makes more sense.
they would be still though chartered as a city attorney.
You would treat them as a charter employee, not as an employee hired by the city manager. Your charter allows you to hire a city manager and a city attorney. You could read, and again, it'd probably require Lee to give it an opinion, but there's nothing in it that prevents you from hiring two city attorneys under the current charter. Because it gives you the
If you
ability.
were able to get rid of one of them, you could.
Yes, because it only
Without going
requires
to
one.
referendum.
Right,
Okay. fine.
And if in further discussions, if we wanted to go in that
Oh, yeah,
direction, we
absolutely,
can.
sure.
But at least from day one, we could be the ones to hire, and, we make that decision on who
Yes.
we want. Not that you wouldn't do a great job.
I'd much rather have it be you guys.
So, what's also really nice about that is it could be very streamlined because Roz just did all of this. So with Lee, so she could basically lean on the same salary, and we just get to do it again, the same process. So I wanted to advocate for having a similar situation where, given, I think, again, Lee did a great job with this, pushing that to Roz and saying you create that, official listing and get that all buttoned up. And as applications are coming in, we can have a hiring committee like we did last time, which I would really ask you all to let me be on, because I didn't get to be on the last one. But with similar sort of people that we had last time, we had Ryan. For those who weren't here, we had Ryan, who's the paralegal for Lee. At the time, Paul Nicoletti, who was the sitting, acting city attorney in the interim. So it'd be
Sorry,
Ryan.
Did you say you were not involved in hiring Mr. Baggett?
I was not allowed to be on the committee, the hiring committee.
But you interviewed
Troy,
Mr. Baggett.
Troy was on it.
But you interviewed Mr.
Yes,
Baggett.
but the committee to sort of
Finalize.
weed out.
No, not final. No, initially.
The shortlist committee.
There was like
Yeah,
15
not
applications that came in, and then that committee kind of weeded out and gave us a short
Gave you a
list.
final list, yeah.
But Ryan, Lee, I know Mac definitely should be on that. This is just my thoughts. Mac would be on that committee. Also, Ed Killer, who, between his work with TC Palm and history in the core of water as an issue, I would like to see some kind of group like that, assuming there was a lot of applications coming in. We know of at least one that will be coming in. So those are kind of my thoughts, if you guys have yours.
Can I just follow up on that?
Commissioner Clark.
So Mr. Baggett and Mr. Mortel, having members of the public on the selection committee for a city employee position, how does that work?
How does that work?
What did you say?
Having members, having a public
We've had
review
of
of
the city.
applications before it gets to
Yeah,
us.
because when we
did
had
that
the
with
city
Lee.
manager, we did have like a
The
community, we had community
did it
members.
with Lee.
Who was it?
It was Lee, I have it.
Ted Astolfi or somebody like
we
that?
had-
Okay, that's fine. I'm just wanting the public to hear that. We had
So-
Thelma Washington and Jerry Gore and others when we were doing the city manager
So-
position.
July 24th was commission direction. July 25th through August 15th, we advertised the vacancy. August 16th, we prepared a summary of candidates. There were 12 received. August 18th, the summary of candidates and credentials were sent or delivered to the committee members, which were Paul Nicoletti, Roz, Shields McManus, Scott Konopka, Mayor McDonald, and Ryan.
Okay, so we had two public
And then
on that one.
August
Okay.
21st, the committee members advised HR of their ranking of their top 4. August 24th and 25th, the committee interviews in which the individuals had, the numbers were shortlisted, determined, needed days to interview, and then they were shortlisted, and the commissioners had the 30-minute interviews each on those particular days with the shortlisted folks, and then the commission did the ultimate selection. And it'd be
Okay.
very similar here. I mean, it's city attorney, it's the same position, it's the same everything. It would just be, instead of July, it would be November or December.
And if we could get one person from the Rivers Coalition.
Oh, at least. We would want Mark Perry. I think we'd want Jim Moyer. We'd want
Isn't,
at least Gil or Eve.
It isn't,
I mean,
Is
Killer on the
Ed
Rivers
Killer that person you're
He
looking
is,
at?
and I do agree with, I think Mark would be a great choice.
Mark was here
Okay.
earlier, too.
I think Mark would be a great choice.
Okay, so,
He's open to it if he wants to do it.
okay, so
I
let,
think Mark, I've spoken with Mark, he has a strong interest in seeing us
Seeing who gets-
providing, and, seeing if we can find a means of being successful and then accomplishing it. But, that's to be debated. He runs Everglades Conference, which is the largest meeting.
I would
of-
love for Mark to be on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was here, he wanted to speak, but he had to leave, so.
can I run through my other ones
You
then?
certainly may, Commissioner.
Okay, so, I wanted to know if it was necessary, and I guess this is a part of what Mr. Stuckey has looked at, but with the outline that Mr. Baggett has put for the knowledge, abilities, and skills and the requirements, it says the St. Lucie River issue, but I was wondering, especially Mr. Mortel, if you know of, it implies, and especially if we're going to take it as a second attorney now, it implies that there will be other environmental law issues that they would be dealing with, not just that. And I just wanted to know if we had an abundance of anything in the past that our legal staff has dealt with that we could say, well, at least it would be a third or a half or whatever.
for what it's worth, I've intentionally tried to avoid having the environmental lawyer have anything to do with like development review or day-to-day operations.
That's what I
'cause
wanted
it's-
to find
yeah,
out.
because it's been my understanding that the intention of this position is to be kind of autonomous and not related to applications getting caught up in the daily grind, but rather to be a complete separate and distinct matter that
And we could always lean on them.
Well, at least what I understand is that you guys are going to be looking to this
But is it gonna
person
be enough
to
work?
create their description. Because I don't know, I mean, at this point, I don't know if they're going to be filing suit, or if they're going to be researching, or
Right,
if
we
they're
have
going to
no
be
idea.
Okay.
evaluating. It's,
Okay, Mr. Baggett?
I added a paragraph 12 under the essential, examples of essential of the function, and you'll see it, I have kind of a boilerplate, performs such other
Maybe I'm
related
looking
duties
at
and functions
my
as
other
may be
one.
assigned by the city commission, city attorney, or city manager.
Okay, that is sufficiently
It
vague.
kind of covers it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind
the
of,
city attorney and city manager don't have authority to assign other items.
Yeah, that would be the only thing I think should come out, is that you two wouldn't be assigning them duties. That would come.
I would just say, as the city attorney, at times I'm very busy. It would be very helpful to have someone cover me for like an advisory board meeting.
Well, I
Because I have
think-
to be at them all, and they're scattered throughout the month. I'm just saying, there's just certain things that would be helpful if we're gonna have another lawyer here.
Well, I
So-
think we should
Which would
decide,
happen-
I think we should decide whether he has to get our approval before he files a suit.
of course,
Of course.
Okay.
of course.
It doesn't say
And
that. I
that sort of
think-
thing would happen informally.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't, the
You'd have to
chartered
bring it to
positions wouldn't have
us.
authority over each other.
Yeah.
In the job description.
I don't, not do that, but I guess as may be assigned by the city, right. Maybe change assigned to as
It would just be
requested. I mean,
Just the city commission.
Just the city commission.
And then if you guys agree on it, he would do it, right? Whether or she.
Yeah, I would want to make sure it just says assigned by the city commission on that part.
All right, Can I continue?
Any other comments,
Can I
Commissioner Clark?
continue?
You
I-
certainly may.
Okay, so then I've talked to people about this whole reason for doing this, and I know that we want to appear strong and we want to do certain things, and we know that the Army Corps is a very tough nut to crack, and we do need to have enforcement. But I've been hearing that, LOSUM is there, the new policies are in, things are okay for now. We don't have high levels of water in the lake, and that hopefully this will be a continuing thing, and we may not need it. So I'm thinking, do we need to, and I know this might not work well with Mr. Cotler, do we need to wait, and maybe the first thing this person does, if they do come on, do some kind of a feasibility thing, or do we need another expert opinion to say, do we really need to have one person and spend this money? It's not just for the first year, it's for other years coming forward. But I think that, I don't know. Anyhow, that's one thing that has come up, that if we should wait and see how LOSUM works and see if we can get some progress through even the work that the county is doing with their legal department and their environmental staff, how that is going. That's one thing that has been brought up to me. And of course, the charter amendment thing, we've kind of dealt with that and talked about it. And the other, I've talked about future budgets. So if it's in, then it's going to be a job that will be there for the future until we decide if they've either completed their job and we don't need them anymore. I trying to think if there's anything else, because those are the big concerns about whether or not LOSUM is enough for now, and if what we need to do is to really and truly, I know that we've sought Mr. Stuckey's opinion, and he's provided that over the years. He's come in here before and talked to us, and he thinks that having one environmental attorney is what will work with the city of Stuart. But I'm really interested, this is a regional issue, and I'm really interested in knowing that we're working along with the county and using their information, or why is it that we're not using the county's information? And maybe, we have issues where I'm pretty sure that I've seen Mr. Meal and others come in here, and they're very good with providing us with the environmental information and working where they're going. So maybe it will be, should we give them a direct task to say, tell us if there's even a need to file a suit, and what if that's done and we don't need them anymore?
So, Mayor?
Yeah.
Mr. Collins.
So I think it can get a little bit scary, when there's a lawyer involved. We go right to lawsuit. But I look at this position more as an environmental protection department. So it's not just somebody that we're hiring to go suing everybody. I agree with you. Right now, we've made a lot of progress with LOSUM. I talked to Major Corey Bell. I talked to Jeff Bratter. I have no desire to damage those relationships at all. But to have a person that is versed and experienced legally, that can be looking into all of the different avenues by which water quality is being degraded locally. It's, a good example is right now we're basically a party with the Corps. It's the goal is not to just start suing the Army Corps. Right now we're party with them against sugar in a way, so we filed that brief to be alongside. And really that's the idea is whatever the issue that comes up, you are doing the best thing for the St. Lucie River, potentially going after enforcement of BMAPs, whatever. We don't even know exactly, and having that person here to be working full-time to unpack this whole thing and give us some directions of where we could have headway, where there could be, endangered species or whatever it is. To have that asset, that resource here would be such a blessing to do everything we can to make sure that we're going after our stated goals, right? Zero discharges. We want that muck taken out of this river. And so, just to say, if I can quelch anxieties about lawsuits, that's not my intent right away. It's really to unpack this and have somebody with this experience and legal prowess to see really, what we can do here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that Commissioner Joby has something. I just want to ask Mr. Baggett, it's probably goes without saying, but maybe if we should include specifically that this person will work with community organizations such as the Rivers Coalition, the South Florida Water Management, whatever it is. I don't know if it's actually, because I want to make sure that this person knows that that it would be included in their scope of work to gather as much information as possible from these organizations in the community. And I don't really, probably, like I said, it might be general public news media.
I think that's implied without being
Researches,
too
maybe,
overly specific.
maybe it's.
Yeah, the problem is when you hire an attorney, and I've been told this directly, and I'm trying to talk to Brian Math about it, they're going to back away from us.
No.
Yep, okay.
Who is gonna back away
Okay.
from us?
The Corps is going to back, the county's already said they're going to back. If they feel that we are going to take this aggressive legal stance,
I think this
they
is
don't want.
fear-mongering. We're not taking any
these are-
stance. We're not taking a
Okay,
stance.
this is from people who have no greater concern than the water quality in this community, so that's unfair of you to
I have not-
characterize that.
I have not heard this.
Okay, well, then you need to talk to more people. And this is the concerns of Mark Perry, and this is the concerns of Gil Smart. And I'm very disappointed he was unable to make his presentation to the Rivers Coalition because there's hundreds of years of experience there, and I'm sure they would have had good questions and provided good feedback to Mr. Stuckey, and I hope you arrange to find sufficient time in an upcoming meeting to make your presentation.
To your point, just not to interrupt you, but I went and met with the board of the Rivers Coalition and had a very different encounter with them than what you're describing.
Okay, well then let's hear
They
from
were
them.
very much open to exploring and seeing what was there.
I agree.
The apprehension was that maybe that there, at the time, wasn't enough support from the commission to make that happen, which seems to be different now. So
I like Commissioner Clark's idea of, I mean, if we're talking about potentially spending huge amounts of money. I mean, huge amounts of money if you're suing these government agencies.
nobody's talking about suing.
Okay, okay, but that's what, if his job depends on that, the lawyer's going to find a way to sue probably. If we want to spend 100 or two, is there a group that is pursuing this already in the state of Florida that has experience that we can hire on?
And maybe our environmental attorney will be able to work with
And
them.
maybe come from there. No, but why duplicate that effort? Why duplicate
Because I want
that
one of these
expertise?
guys working for me. I want one of these guys working for
Well,
me.
you would hire them to work for us.
It's got to be somebody that works for us directly.
Okay, well, that's.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I
Commissioner
address that
Giobi.
also?
Yes.
The reality is this would be a person dedicated to us, to the St. Lucie River. Doesn't mean they can't work and gain knowledge and pass on knowledge to the other entities. Doesn't mean we're going to court now. It may never get to court. A statement when this person comes on board and people realize what they are trying to do and how to save the St. Lucie River. They're dedicated to that. It's not, the River Coalition's a great entity. I've been there, except they have so many other areas that they're trying to save and they're trying to protect. This would be just for the city of Stuart. We're the ones that the St. Lucie River, this is on our borders here. This is where we would like to fish. This is where our children would like to play. Okay, so that is our main concern, and that would be what our environmental attorney would do. And again, fear-mongering happens. Maybe there'd be a statement when this person is hired. Maybe there's a statement they make to bring those levels down.
Right.
I mean, that's a possibility. It's all about PR. It's all about advertising. And once we get to that point where they have the right person, then they present themselves to what they are and what they plan to do for the city of Stuart.
Yeah, I would just, there was a lawsuit and they lost and Lake Okeechobee is not a point source of pollution. I mean, that's the first obstacle that has to be overcome. This is going to be a much less accommodating political system as regards environmental complaints. I got to believe that, especially in the state of Florida. Okeechobee is very upset with the lake levels. It's way too high for them. They're thinking of suing because the littoral, just let me finish. Because
Why we need an attorney.
because the littoral grasses are not able to grow at 17 feet. They need it down to 13 feet. Big Sugar is suing. The Caloosahatchee is very upset at their representatives because, thanks to Brian Mast, we got a much better deal in Losum. And they're thinking, so, let's get in there and start suing. It can get pretty crowded pretty quickly. I don't know why we're opposed to a feasibility study before we undertake this potentially enormous expense that would dwarf what we would have paid for Brightline, to say, here's a way forward, here's your opportunity, here's a timeline. There's so many people with so much experience that we could gain, and it doesn't preclude us from saying, okay, good idea, let's do it. That's all I think Commissioner Clark and I are asking.
I think you're making a great case for Losum is going to be ironed out in the courts. It is going to be continually ironed out, and we need to make sure that our interests are able to be represented in those various cases. You're going to see this going to court, like you said. And if we are sitting on our hands and have nobody that's legally there to vouch for us, Losum very well, we could lose ground in what we've gained in our deal. The goal is not to haul off and start suing everybody, but we should make sure we can represent our interests in the St. Lucie River going forward.
So you have no interest in getting a professional opinion on the value and direction of such a position?
I want my professional opinion to be from the environmental attorney that I hire. That's whose opinion that I'm interested in.
I'd like to speak to Gail Harrell. I'd like to speak to Jay.
Mayor Rich, may I?
Gail?
What if we had like a workshop or something?
Here's the downside. You start losing grants. That's a real downside. These organizations go, well, we're not going to give you, fines is not going to, if we find, if we're for an adversarial position, we could potentially lose grants. And I'd like an evaluation of that. Is that true? Could that happen?
How could you measure if Gail Harrell's going to punish you with grants or not? It's impossible.
Mayor, I know that
I'm sorry.
Commissioner
I
Reed
think
has something.
Commissioner Reed would like to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Reed.
I think we could get a group.
I wouldn't be opposed to having a workshop, and you're talking about all these professionals on what they've told you. Well, let's get them down here and let's hear them publicly what they have to say instead of it having to be in communication outside of this chamber. If that's what you're going for, you can get all the professionals you're talking about down here during a workshop, during the day. Like we have Rivers Coalition meetings, all the professionals are there. Why not extend the workshop and have a board meeting after, and they can hang around, I don't know, and hear what they have to say. I remember what it was like growing up on the river, though, and I can say there was grass flats at House of Refuge, and I used to cut my feet on oyster beds, walking around Jensen Beach. Those times are long gone. I don't think anyone in this room will probably eat a fish from the river. I haven't caught a snook in 10 years, let alone eat one. Yeah. I understand there's people that will. I have friends that are in the marine industry that have lost their business through the summers and the discharges. That hurts.
Yeah.
You want to talk about businesses being lost to a zoning in progress or something? Well, we're built on the marine industry as well. And I have multiple friends that have been exposed to the horrible health conditions. We have to wait until high tide to go enjoy the water at the sandbar. It's uncalled for. Yep. My mom used to barefoot water ski back in the pocket when she was a child. I don't think I'd want to water ski or jet ski or do any of that stuff in the water. I try to make it out on high tide just to go out to the sandbar to enjoy what little we have. Or we'll take our boat and run to the Bahamas or have to go to the Keys.
Clean water.
Correct, for clean water, or we'll go to the West Coast and run 100 miles offshore to the middle grounds. Is that what we have to do as residents in the city of Stuart to enjoy our local water? I pay $7,000 a year for a 2-bedroom house to get this kind of quality of water. It's disgusting. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and nobody wants this town to be a ghost town because of, a river, bad river. But I just think that, I think the idea of having, this is for discussion and deliberation tonight. So if we could get some of our experts in here, along with Mr. Stuckey, who has been sticking with this thing over the years, I think it might be helpful to us to know that we have a good groundswell and what the charge is going to be for this person who's going to be working on the river.
I appreciate where you're coming from, but it's more wasted time. It's been 100 years. Nobody's going to save us. Gail Harrell's not going to save us. Toby's not going to save us. John's not going to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have a really special opportunity right now to do this. And I appreciate the Rivers Coalition. I appreciate Gil. I appreciate all these guys. They're awesome. They're huge resources. I love John Mayle and the county. Yes, we have to do it. And we have to be the leaders here. We have to take this by the reins, and nobody else is going to give us permission. I don't need Gil to tell me it's a good idea. I know that this is a great idea and that we should have done this a long time ago. I want to move forward with this. I would motion that we have, if we need to, an agenda item, if it's not a consensus thing, that
Put an agenda item on the next meeting.
Well, the next meeting had to go out today.
Okay.
So the next next agenda item will be December 9th.
And then if, the groups want to come and speak while we're going through the process, let's be going through the process, though, and be working on it. And if we want to tweak it as we go, instead of waiting and getting permission from whoever that it's a good idea. What would be the next step, Mike, to have Roz take this and formalize this as a job and start putting together?
You could have a resolution at the December 9th meeting to adopt that job description and post it for however long is appropriate to be posted, just like we did in July, so that you could get applicants. And they could post from December 9th to January 9th or something like that.
And is that something you need consensus from us, or that's something you
We'll
want
put it on, if you're requesting a consensus, put it on the December 9th.
Is that a
meeting, I'll do
motion
that.
do we need to do a
Sure,
motion?
you can
to
do a
that?
motion,
I'd
but a
like to make a
consensus is fine,
motion
too. Okay.
to put that onto the December 9th meeting so that we can then approve that. And thank you very much for getting that ready for that meeting.
Second.
Mayor
I have a
Rich, may
second?
I?
By Commissioner Joby and a second by Commissioner Clark.
Mayor Rich, may I?
Is there, I'm sorry.
Wait,
Is there
first
any
it needs-
public comment with regard to? Public comment first.
Alan McBride. Well, Mac in the back of the room, I know he remembers, excuse me, when we first moved here in '73. Every Wednesday afternoon, the merchants would put a sign in the window, going fishing, and it was fish fries every Wednesday night. I can remember when Bob bought the first boat, we went out clamming and oysters, finding, and I'm not a boat person, but I did go out, and I did not enjoy with my bare feet trying to find them, but they were delicious eating. But every one of you up there, how many people in the city of Stuart go out getting clams and oysters in our rivers? Nope. Or do they eat the fish? Do you still?
Zero.
Zero, yeah. Well, I thought you were saying you got them.
No,
I was
zero.
going to say,
No.
I don't think knowing you're a mother, I don't think she'd let you do that, young man. Well, she went to school with my Robin, that's why I know his mother. And when you say Martin, of course, you're the wrong person to say Martin County, because when I first started going to those meetings, I used to get so upset, and that's when I started saying, this is Helen McBride from the city of Stuart, which is in Martin County. Because Martin County, no digs on your former boys, but they're nice to me, but as far as the city goes, no. So this is the city of Stuart.
Right.
We're our own people. Let's do what's best for we, the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I just get clarification? So it's the job description that I drafted with the edits to paragraph number 12 under the essential functions, removing city attorney and city manager?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Breckbill.
Anything else? Hold on.
Commissioner Clark had mentioned some other things about communicating with, like the Rivers Coalition and other organizations. Do you guys?
As part of the job description.
I think it's implied enough, would be my opinion. We
All
don't
right.
have to add that.
I don't need to specifically add that, okay.
All right, Mark Breckbill, 208 Southeast Osceola Street for another 3 weeks, and then it's Finney. But anyway, yeah. So I want to just make a couple points. I think we're thinking too small. I think this is a fantastic thing, but we're thinking too small. We're thinking litigation. This is going to be multi-pronged, and it's going to be multi-locational pronged. Like, for example, when I was talking to Negron years back when we were talking about how we could sue, his point was, well, we couldn't bring suit because we weren't specifically harmed because it was happening at the discharge out at the lake. And so it was one of those. So there's situations that are going to occur where we're going to need to use lobbyists. The lobbying is going to be the answer. The political answer is going to be the answer. There's going to be situations where litigation is the answer. There's going to be a number of different types of situations. The person who's going to manage that doesn't have to be an attorney, is what I'm saying. If we could get Mark Perry, for example, to come and manage all of that, if we could get Eve Samples to come and manage all of that, right? They know what attorneys to hire, when to hire them, what they need. The other thing that I'm saying is, as a CPA, I know it works in my office. I know it works with all the attorneys as well. The more you're paying the attorney, the more people they're going to need to support themselves. The person that's experienced doesn't do the paperwork. They're not the paralegal, and it's going to take a separate paralegal to do some of this work, both litigation from some of the other stuff that's being done from a regulatory standpoint. So I'm just saying, it needs somebody for the city to be constantly in their face. But it doesn't necessarily have to be an attorney. It could be someone who has maybe lobbying background, or like Negron. Let's bring Negron in here and let him, I'm just saying there are multiple people. I don't think we should limit it. I think the idea is what we should focus on. I don't think we should limit it to the job itself. I think it, and then we can be successful. And then we have money to go on to other lawsuits, because in some cases, we may need to go on lawsuits outside of this area completely, in other states, to pursue an answer that we want, to be able to use it in our district. And that money, we're not going to send our attorney to do that. We're going to send our money to do that. We're going to jump on those lawsuits. So anyway, that's just my comments. I'll shut up and take my grandson fishing.
Not here.
On the river. That's a very good analysis, and I hope at the very least we get a realistic, before we spend the taxpayers' money, that we get a very realistic budget of how much staff is required. I see in there's regular testing. How frequent is that testing? The testing is very expensive now to go to these labs.
And just out of curiosity, is the city attorney going to be doing that testing? Are you talking about?
No, he's going to have to hire scientists to evaluate that. So.
It'd be a great role with Mark Perry. You could dovetail with Mark Perry.
But, we don't have those numbers.
Well,
I'd like to see more. What is the budget? What is
There's no way you can anticipate how things could evolve, because you don't know what path you're going to go. You don't know if there's going to be testing, if it's going to be more legislative.
But that's the point.
attorney's
That's the
job
point
is
of
to
it.
figure that out.
But that's the point of having a due diligence before we start down this road, because their organizations have been doing this for decades, and law firms have been doing this for decades, and they at least can give us some idea. If you just want to go, okay, we're going to spend the money, but it just makes me uncomfortable to not have a clearer idea of the size of the staff, the size of the department, the requirements.
As far as I see it, it's going to be an attorney, it's going to be Ben Hogarth and Ryan. That's how I see it.
Can Ben's role be expanded to do something?
I'm sure he'd much rather be doing this and maybe some of the other things he ends up doing.
I don't know how much free time Ben feels he has, but it's certainly worth asking him. Okay, it's just, it's a lot of money, and I just hope we have as much knowledge with regard to it, certainly with regard to cost.
It's going to be worth every penny.
So just for clarification, too, just so the record's straight, I think it will be likely not, it might be Ben, if this position is designed and you guys create it as an autonomous office, it may be that you want directly autonomous staff members working for it. And again, that can evolve later, but my understanding of the job description is that it wouldn't be Ben and Ryan because they would also be working on other matters.
Right.
That would be city-related. But that, again, would come from the environmental lawyer, because once that person is hired, he or she would have to come before you and say, look, I need a budget for X, Y, and Z. And that wouldn't be the city manager's budget to decide. That would be kind of its own sub-budget within the budget that they would present to the board and you guys would approve.
Yeah, I think we should just be specific. I mean, I appreciate your enthusiasm, Commissioner Council. At your age, I had it too when I sued the federal government and spent years and years doing it and spent so much money. It was not public money, it was my own money. And then, got squashed like a bug. And the case where they took to the district court in Atlanta, they spent years and millions of dollars, and the judge said, no, sorry. The Lake Okeechobee is a non-point source of pollution, and the Corps doesn't have to provide anybody with ask for permits or provide any information regarding their discharges, and that's where it currently stands. So that's the first hurdle we're going to have to overcome.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I thought you were finished.
But everybody wants clean water. Everybody wants clean water. We just want to find the most effective way forward. We want to save the citizens of the city of Stuart as much money as we can. And yes, it is an investment that is essential, but let's just make sure we're making the best decision with regard to that. Commissioner Giobi.
Yes, I just want to say, and again, we've been talking, everyone's been saying things, but we keep bringing up a lawsuit, which isn't where we're starting. So already the optics are, when this gets out, that we're looking to sue people the minute we hire an environmental attorney, which is not the case. So I think that it's very important that we do, even from this point forward, the optics of how we present it are so important.
Right. I agree.
Well, then maybe we do hire a lobbyist. If you're not going to sue.
The other thing I was going to mention is that if we go forward, when we go forward with this, we also want to look where we can fund it the best. This actually should come out of the CRA, because we got money in the CRA. Yeah, there's no reason why CRA can have staff.
The CRA can't do a general fund matter. It can't, the river, if the lawyer can only address water in the CRA, then we can do it in the CRA. But Fraser Creek, Poppleton Creek, Kruger Creek, and the river are not in the CRA.
But as long as they're available to do that, you can justify them doing that research. They may have to do other work. I think we could.
No, Mark.
We should look at that.
Violate the CRA plan.
You're not going to threaten that funding.
No, we actually couldn't hire, we funded the portion of the station that was in the CRA, but we couldn't pay for personnel that went outside of it. And you also, under the CRA, can't pay for services you were already providing that this wouldn't qualify under. But what I'm reading in the job description is that it's actually extra jurisdictional rather than interjurisdictional, because it sounds like they're going to be identifying points of pollution. The only exposure the city of Stuart has to the river is from Palm City Bridge to Snug Harbor. I mean, the rest of the river is outside of the city limits. So this person's position is likely going to be addressing issues that happen outside of the city, not within the city.
But I like where your head's at. I like where your head's at.
Yeah, I do too.
Find the money, find the money.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're taking our time to a degree, that it's not such a extreme position we're asking this potential hire to take.
Mr. Mayor?
It provides the commissioners with opportunity to talk to all these people and perhaps bring them before us.
Mr.
I
Mayor?
don't think that's not a bad idea, Commissioner Reed. And again,
I was.
no, I know, but I was referring to your, I don't know why Mac got pulled from the Rivers Coalition, but I really like you to go before them. Mac, if you can find the time. I realize that's an ask. Well, you felt you were time constrained, so perhaps if we talk to them, we can give you sufficient time. Okay,
wants to come
you can
back.
come back up.
You just want to talk. We've been talking for 90 friggin' years, and we've gotten nowhere. The cost of litigation, the main cost of a litigation is a lawyer, and lots of lawyers, and law firms. If we have our own lawyer talking for the city on a city salary, that's our only expense. He will be involved in all the LOSUM decisions. The first thing he will do is learn everything that's happened to the river, and he will find and research the best strategy to stop it. I went to law school to right wrongs. The biggest wrong I have ever seen in my community is this poison river. You are willing to go out and spend $9 million to bury a few power lines. $300,000 a year is a pittance to clean up this river. And I think it's irresponsible of this commission. For the last 10 years, I've been talking to it. And now we have a chance to move forward and have an advocate for the city and the city's interests.
Yep.
And we need to hire this fellow, any fellow that's got the credentials, and we need to move on. You can talk for another 100 years if you want to, but we're going to be dead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stuckey. Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Giobbe.
could I just remind everyone, there is a motion on the floor?
Yes, and we're discussing
Oh,
the
okay,
motion. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And Mr. Reed, Commissioner Reed.
Commissioner Reed, do you have additional comments
He had his
regarding this
light on.
motion?
I saw his light.
Like, turned his sign upside down.
I don't really have any comments right now. Besides a workshop, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Getting these people down here, let's really hear what they have to say. If they're telling you this is not the way to go, get them down here publicly then, so I can hear it for myself. I'd love to hear it on who you spoke to, because the only negatives that I really heard was political repercussions. You set that aside, and it's like, you got to do something. But yeah, all these quote-unquote professionals that I know represent Martin County as a whole and go to Tallahassee for us, get them down here. Let's see what they have to say.
And I'm not opposed to a workshop as well, but
I'd love to see a workshop.
I don't want to hold up what we're trying to do.
I don't think it would.
I want to make sure we're moving forward in this process, and if we happen to want to schedule some kind of workshop or whatever, or if some of these people come to our next hearing where we'll be discussing this anyway, we can hear from them. But I want to make sure we're moving forward and we're not holding off on this.
Is there a Rivers Coalition meeting this month, or is it not because of
already happened.
Thanksgiving, or it's already happened? Did it?
Second or third
happen.
Did it happen in
Third
October?
Thursday.
So it was in October
be
then,
around
so there's probably not one in November,
One in December.
I'm not sure.
December.
I'd have to check.
I'm searching right now.
Because I mean, I think that'd be great just to have a special meeting right after it, even before
No,
it.
during it. You
Or
know, you've
even
been to those
during it.
meetings.
I have been to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
meetings.
So they'll say this is the primary
And it's,
topic.
and
on my
it's,
calendar for
and it's a
Thursday,
controversial
21st.
issue, right? So there's some people that are part of these organizations that fully support it. And apparently there's some naysayers that are part of the organization. And if they're the naysayers, well, get them down here and let's hear it.
It's incorrect to characterize them as naysayer. They're just saying, we're not sure of the best way forward at this point, you know, with the new LOSUM, and they're aware of the other communities that are very
Because within your Rivers
to our
Coalition,
advantage.
you're going to have a lot of different interests there. You're going to have people
Right,
who
so
are
it's good to
focused
hear that.
on.
Yeah.
No. I would actually say our job is to defend our interests. I'm not as concerned, you know, like the Everglades Foundation, or if they're concerned with the Miccosukee, they have their own representation. I'm worried about representing us and our interests. I don't need to hear about how the ag feels about. I understand. We are all very aware of everybody's
How ag
interests.
feels about it.
We know. There you go, 21st of November.
Thank you.
So they do have one.
They're probably set, though, probably a little late, but I'll talk to Mark, the board, I mean. But,
I'm sure we'll all be talking to
are
the
we
various
done?
members.
So can we take a vote?
December 9th.
Not yet.
No, we're waiting for a second.
We're just waiting for
Oh,
the
just
discussion.
I did a
bring it down.
We had
motion.
a second, didn't
Bring
we?
it
Yeah,
in
we had a second.
December.
Oh,
That's why
did
we're
have a
discussing,
second,
that's
okay.
why we're discussing it, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Clark. Yeah.
Madam Clerk, we had a second?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
So do you mind
Are we
clarifying the motion one more time?
I
for
have
what we're
that
voting?
that you're bringing back a resolution for a job description on December 9th.
Everybody understand? Cool.
Correct.
All right.
And Mr. Baggett, you feel you have a specific?
Yeah, with the edits that you guys have discussed and.
Okay.
And I confirmed on.
Can I add something? Can I talk to personnel?
You may talk to anyone you wish.
Hey, Roz.
Did you?
Hello,
did-
all.
hi.
Roz Johnson Strong for the
Hi.
record.
Did you find, like a Department of Labor qualification thing, I mean, the job range for environmental lawyer in the list of, you know how you do your survey thing?
We did a survey when we were recruiting for Lee Baggett's position, and that data is still relevant.
And we'll-
we also had a pay point study recently with
And we'll be able
similar
to,
data.
we'll gather that information for the agenda item.
Okay, so you're good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, and you heard the question about staffing. I know that's probably a Mike issue, but that would be like, almost like a department with additional staff.
Yes, and I think the city manager articulated that pretty well, that
Yeah.
if this attorney needs additional staff, he or she would need to come before the commission to seek that, because that would be a position reporting to the commission, not the city manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
Okay,
Ross.
you're welcome.
That would come before us then, if they were expanding their.
Does they work for you?
Well, I guess. Well, he wouldn't be our direct employee. Would they?
Yes,
Any additional
yes.
staff?
No, the-
Ryan's not our
We wouldn't
direct
One,
do the
two,
employee.
staff,
three.
the budgeting of it would be, because it
Right,
would be your
yeah.
budget, right?
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Giobbe?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Seeing, if I can, sorry. Seeing no other items for our consideration, the meeting is adjourned.
Do you want